Thank you to all members of the public, councillors and officers who are joining us for tonight's meeting. I'm Councillor Maggie Wehrmath and I have the privilege and honour of being the Mayor of Seaford. I would remind councillors and officers of their commitment to the Civility and Respect Pledge and to be mindful during tonight's meeting. Please be aware that the council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded onto the YouTube channel. I'd like to highlight some of the key points of the meeting format. Please can I ask that everybody has their phones switched off or to silent. Please remain seated unless you are invited to speak or need to take a comfort break. The toilet facilities are out in the corridor through which you enter. Fire exits are down through the doors out of the chambers and down the external fire escape or down the main entrance that you entered through the building. The assembly point is outside the Royal Mail Parcel Office in West Street. And in the event of a fire, the lift should not be used, and for those who require the lift, officers will guide you with the correct process to exit the building. Members of the public are invited to participate in the meeting with the key points as follows. Public participation is limited to 4 minutes per person, and as chair I will interject if needed to enforce this. So we time people. It's nothing personal, it's just for fairness. When the public participation agenda item is introduced, please raise your hand to show that you wish to speak, and I will invite you to speak. And if you're comfortable standing, please do so in order to ensure that you can be heard across the room. You don't need to state your name when you start speaking if you do not wish to. I would ask that participants looking to leave the meeting wait for the end of an agenda item to limit distractions for other participants. Members of the public looking to leave the building will need to be escorted out by a council officer. If the meeting goes into confidential session, a short 2-minute break will be held to allow members of the public to leave. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible in order to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned about any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please clearly state point of order and I will then gesture you to elaborate. If anyone present is felt to be behaving unacceptably, they can be ejected from the meeting by resolution. Thank you for listening, and on behalf of the council I'd like to thank everyone for attending this council meeting. Right, welcome councillor. Right, thank you. Right, Chair, Mr. Clark. Agenda item 1, apologies.
Thank you, Chair. So we have 4 apologies this evening from Councillor Meek for personal commitments, Councillor Rutland for personal commitments, Councillor Ruth Sturton for personal commitments, and Councillor Matthews for personal reasons. In addition, Councillor Lord has advised that he's coming, but he's going to be late.
Right, okay, and he can get in, so that should be right. Okay. Right, agenda item 2, disclosure of interests. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interests and interests other than pecuniary interests, as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and the Localism Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. Do we have any disclosures of interest? Councillor Walraven.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 13, Seaford Lifeguards, I'm the Vice President of Seaford Lifeguards.
Thank you very much. Yes. Anyone else? Thank you. Duly noted. Thank you. Right. Now, item 3 is public. Okay. Dispensations. A dispensation was granted by full council in 2024 to all members who pay council tax to take part in discussion and vote on agenda items relating to considering and setting the precept. This dispensation was granted in order for the town council to be quorate and to set its annual budget and precept requirement. This dispensation will last the duration of this current administration, i.e. until May 2027. Please note that any member with council tax unpaid for more than 2 months is prohibited from voting on the budget or precept by Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992 and must disclose at the start of the meeting that Section 106 applies to them. This is not automatically an issue with councillors who pay council tax in monthly instalments, as they are not in arrears for an expected payment. Does anyone have a dispensation they wish to declare? No. Okay. Right, item 3, public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public physically in the meeting room in accordance with relevant legislation and Seaford Town Council policy. Do we have any members of the public who wish to participate? Could you just put all your hands up so we've got an idea? So there are quite a lot of people who wish to participate. So I think what I'd like to do is actually start at the back, if that's okay, and then because it's easier to see people at the front, so I don't want to miss out on anybody. So the gentleman at the back, and I'll try and move across. Would the gentleman at the back like to stand up and address the attendees?
Madam Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never met me, I'm Peter Gwilliam, Chairman of Seaford Lifeguards, a local charity. For those that are unaware, we are a voluntary team that has provided at no cost a beach lifeguard service to this town for the past 55 years. In January 2 years ago, we were given 48 hours notice to vacate the lifeguard post near the Martello Tower to make way for a changing places facility. Our lifeguard post being promptly demolished. No alternative provision was offered or provided for us at that time. And what has now been provided, once the mistake you made has been realised, is inadequate for our needs. I was told in confidence by a member of your staff that the elected members had possibly been misled or misinformed. And once the situation had been realised, individuals were quickly told not to upset the lifeguards. I can inform you that yes, you have deeply upset the lifeguards, and I'm dismayed by the manner in which we have been treated and feel betrayed by you all in allowing this to happen without proper and full consultation with us. I am so angry with this council that I shall say no more. I have therefore asked Carol Trimby, past President of the Seaford Chamber of Commerce, to speak on our behalf. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Right, would you like to take up on that, Ms. Trimby, please?
Yeah, okay. Excuse me if I read what I wrote down. Madam Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carol Trimby. I'm at the moment Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also part of the management team for running the lifeguards. You know, COVID changed the world, stopped lifeguards operating, and as Peter's told you, the unit was knocked down by your contractors, not by you personally. And since tourism has multiplied fourfold on our beach and cliffs, it's taken us nearly 3 years since we started negotiation with your excellent officers to reinstate lifeguards and find a site for a new crew unit. Money, of course, has been an issue, and the Chamber of Commerce set out last year in their charity golf day to raise money to do this. Just prior to this event, Brighton and Hove lifeguards and the RLNI offered us 2 steel container units, fully fitted out, which they no longer used. These were just what we were raising money for. So now they have to be moved to Seaford if we're to have them, and we need to get on with that if we're going to be here. A site on the beachfront was identified to the east of the first row of beach huts. At the suggestion of your officers, we have been asked if we would look at the area to the west of the Martello Tower, where the composting toilets were. Either is fine by us. These units will be owned, maintained by the lifeguards. We'll pay to move them to Seaford, and for the installation of electricity and water at no cost to the council. Please remember that we're all volunteers and this has to be done in our own time, as most of the people run businesses. The beach hut you loaned us as a temporary base was very kind of you and will initially be needed, but sadly it's rather too small to carry us forward for future use. We have a new website, posters designed, website leaflets, water safety leaflets. We have the school on board wanting to help. We want to encourage young people to be involved in the seafront, and the Macreed is very happy to have us help us with training. We're all waiting for an agreement for a ready to go, and we have also made out a planning application. So this evening I hope that you will all vote, please, to bring back this essential organisation to the beach and the cliffs for safety. Should you feel we are no longer required, then the equipment will all be sold and the money distributed to charities in the town. We're at the final crossroads. We're at what I call the crunch point after all this time. And we need an agreement from you tonight. And we require, if you really still want us to be here, we would also require a letter telling us this so that we can add it to our planning application to make sure that it goes through without too much problem. So please think about this. It's involved a lot of work from your officers and from our management team. Thank you.
And I presume this is about agenda item 13.
Yes, it's about agenda item 13, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Who would like to speak next? Anyone in the back row in the main body? Right. Second, anyone in the second row?
Oh, shall I? No.
Yes, please do. Please do. And if you could help us by giving us an idea of which agenda item, it would be very helpful. It means we've got more quicker.
25.
Thank you.
Mayor, Chair, Councillors, thank you. I want to speak tonight on 4 interlinked matters: the agricultural covenant on Seaford Barn, the need for a landscape and visual impact assessment, the pay and display trial, and the protection of residents against parking overspill. The agricultural covenant, although it applies to the barn, the covenant limits the intensity, activity, the surrounding field, bridleway and landscape that it must absorb. Removing it shifts pressure onward and risks future development on Cheetham Field. Approving a 10,000 to discharge or modify the covenant before understanding the consequences is effectively agreeing to a principle of weakened long-standing safeguard. Legal advice tells us what could happen, and LVIA tells us what will happen. 2 entirely different avenues. Once removed, the impacts are irreversible. The landscape visual impact assessment. There is already a car park at South Barn, and even now visitors, including coaches, sometimes along the bridleway parking, creating congestion and safety issues. I acknowledge that the pay and display trial aims to manage visitors' numbers, which is important given the pressure, cars and especially coaches. Coaches are large and unwieldy and create serious risk along the access road. They also worsen congestion in the car park and spill into surrounding streets. Again, obviously the pay and display trial is intended to manage this, but it doesn't replace the need for proper landscape oversight. And LVIA provides professional evidence-based assessment of whether the site and the surrounding field can absorb additional structures, traffic and activity without harm. If the LVIA shows significant impacts, the council would have a clear basis to modify, limit or even pause the scheme to protect Cheetham Field and the bridleway. Visitor control alone does not protect the landscape. Infrastructure, signage, barriers and increased traffic already affect the visual character of the barn and Cheetham Field. An LVIA provides professional evidence, landscape sensitivity, character, visual impacts and key viewpoints, cumulative and indirect impacts, environmental considerations as vegetation, wildlife and pollution, mitigation options and alignment to the planning policy. Crucially, it safeguards the field from future development. Without it, removing the covenant or allowing intensified activity could be used to justify building permanently on our landscape. Resident protection and overspill. BN25 residence permits during the trial are welcome, free, free BN25 resident permits during the trial are welcome. But this is policy, not legally guaranteed. Protection for current and future residents can only be ensured by a permanent TRO exemption tied to property addresses, administrated through East Sussex County Council. Even with permits, displaced visitors may park in Chinkton Way and surrounding streets. Please, Council, please clarify how overspill will be prevented through binding measures. Without this, residents risk congestion, safety hazards and loss of amenities. Tourists will keep coming and pressure on the South Hill Barn, the access road and surrounding streets will continue. Council residents are in a no-win situation. The LVIA provides evidence to manage impact, responsibility, protects Chinkton Field and ensures residents are not unfairly burdened. Decisions made without at risk worsening congestion, overspill and environment. So in summary, preserve the agricultural covenant until an LVIA has been commissioned and considered. Fund the LVIA as evidence base for the future decision. After a conversation today with a landscape assessment company, I spoke to a partner and he has advised me that this report could cost around £5,000. Any developer's LVIA that was issued in 2016 is now out of date. The pay and display trial should only proceed with a permanent legally binding resident exemption. Visitors' pressure, particularly from coaches, must be managed responsibly, but visitors' control displace does not replace landscape protection. Overspill into surrounding streets must be addressed through binding TRO measures. The LVIA will provide evidence and safeguard Chinktonville for future development and assess the impact proceeding.
Thank you. Really great. Thank you. Who would like to speak next? Are you all talking on the same subject, do you know?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Right, good evening Chair and everybody. I would like to speak on agenda item number 25. And when I reference numbers, I'm talking about the agenda that you've got. So first of all, the first point is 2.2, your data collection site, where you put the camera and you positioned it towards the top of the bridleway. And firstly, I wanted to ask one question as to why you've used two different survey companies for what you're doing, and why you didn't use East Sussex County Council, as they provide the data that both of these companies have provided. In May 2024, I actually spoke with the East Sussex County Council Transport Monitoring Manager for Infrastructure Planning and Place, and he did an inspection and said the best place to put the equipment would be a lamp column on Chinkton Way, near its eastern end and close to the road to the car park, as this would give you the best traffic flow. Now moving through to Appendix C, 4.6, you are only looking at vehicles that have stayed longer than 10 minutes, and the understanding from this is that you think that the cars are dropping people off so they're not parking. However, I would suggest that the reason that these cars are staying for less than 10 minutes is because they can't park. They're turning around, they're going back down the bridleway and they are parking there, or they are parking on the road.
Yeah.
So to actually look at 5.1, your graph, you've got 1,074 cars leaving within 2 minutes and 751 leaving with less than 15 minutes. That could equate that you've lost somewhere between 15% of the vehicles that you think are not parking there, they're simply dropping off. So that's a really big number to be missing on. And the figures 7 and 8, which are your heat maps, which show that when there is density in the car park, will also be incorrect because you've got so many cars parking on the bridleway. Moving next to pedestrians, 1.3, where you explain that there is a growing problem of increased vehicular use on the bridleway. And you also talk about endangering pedestrians on the access road due to congestion and inconsiderate parking. However, you haven't disclosed any of the data to do with pedestrians, and I do ask how many pedestrians are using that path. And surely the focus should be on pedestrians and not just on cars and on coaches, because we are in a time of looking at sustainable travel. So this should be based on pedestrians as well. So moving on then to speeding. There's no speed restriction on the bridleway, and I don't think there could be a speed restriction put on there. And years ago people did try to put one, but East Sussex County Council took it down. So you have gathered data in 2.1 about the speeds of the vehicles. So I was wondering what speeds the cars or the vans were going up there at, and what was the average speed. because actually you've got a very small narrow way, you've got a considerable number of coaches and you've got a considerable number of vehicles using it, and you've also got pedestrians and people having to get out of the way. Moving on to coaches, again I would say you've got the same issue coming up, that you've looked at most of the coaches not staying for long. That's because they're going off and parking elsewhere. Point 6, you talk about the Chinkton Lane overspill. It's not Chinkton Lane, it's an ancient bridleway 31B. You've estimated from the photograph that you've put in that was supplied by one of our group that there are 50 to 60 vehicles parked in a lay-by service area. Well, there's no lay-by service area of that road. And you write at 6.5, it is likely, therefore, that overspill occurred infrequently and that the existing parking provisions accommodated the demand without overspill 99% of the time. I would say to you that you have got between 1,074 and 1,085 cars that are not parking in there because they are leaving because they cannot park, which is nearly 20% of the vehicles that are used in that car park. Thank you.
Lady.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody. I just wanted to add on to about pollution. We haven't really talked about pollution actually, and when, as you probably know, we did this survey ourselves, and we noted quite considerable pollution at the bottom of the bridleway. And one of the things the SDNP are talking about in line with their sustainable travel, as you probably know all about this as well, and one of the things they really want to do is to work with transport and other partners to maximise public transport opportunities and to provide information at public transport sites to enable onward travel and enjoyment. We really do have a problem, and pollution is part of it, and I just think that hasn't been considered, so I'd be grateful if that could go into the pot too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person. Lady on the front row, and then towards
me.
the door. Yeah, please.
I'm Laura Goff and I live in Chinkton Way, not at the far end, but the roundabout end. And it's item 25. It's kind of linked with lots of things. I'd like to talk about the south east area of Seaford, extending from Chinkton Road up to South Hill Barn car park. And it's, as we know, it's become an increasingly complex area. There's a small turning area and a junction, which at present is a one-way access up to the bridleway to South Hill Barn car park. I would be interested to know how the council are ensuring coordination between the several different strands under current discussion. Number one, the access to the bridleway, especially with regard to large vehicles such as coaches and large motorhomes. This corner is also, as we know, attracting an ever-increasing number of tourist vehicles, walkers, cyclists on the National Cycle Route and the Avenue Verte, as well as the existing Girl Guides using the building on near the farm, brownies, and the people now using the swimming pool, which is quite a few people parking to use the swimming pool. I also wondered whether the developer who owns Chinkton Field is involved in discussions about the bridleway. Number two, this is my number two. Could the council explain how the potential housing development on Chinkton Field will be managed at the same time as this increasing tourist traffic as it makes its way up and down the bridleway? When it's looking for people are looking for alternative parking or leaving due to the new payment situation, because some people will turn around if they don't want to pay. They will be directed by one parking attendant on the busiest days. And I can only think how scary it would be for that one parking attendant being accosted by coach drivers, tourists who aren't used to paying up there, visitors from other parts of the county who aren't used to paying up there, and then they've got to run down to the bottom, apparently, according to the report, to direct any traffic at the bottom of the lane. So they've kind of effectively got to be in two places watching that. How will this all be managed when there are bulldozers possibly and cement mixers also using that corner if the building development goes ahead? I think it would be very dangerous indeed. Working one's way up the bridleway, it's been said on previous occasions that the management of the South Hill Barn car park and the whole of Seaford Head, in fact, is very difficult to coordinate as many different authorities are involved. For example, the Sussex Wildlife Trust, the Town Council, South Downs National Park, Natural England, who we were led to believe would help Seaford Town Council manage the area. However difficult it may be, these bodies have to meet in order to ensure that there is not a lasting and devastating impact on the area due to the lack of cohesive and strategic planning by all parties. A large development of new housing will make access to South Hill Barn very complicated, incidentally, and it will also affect wildlife and dark skies, both of which seem to be very low priorities now, and yet are heralded by the South Downs National Park as significant and essential to both tourism and well-being. The development of, number 4, nearly done, development of South Hill Barn. The barn was left to the people of Seaford, and it was left as a philanthropic gesture. Can the council explain why it is seeking to remove the agricultural covenant? What is the plan for the barn? Are you planning to lease it? Is it seen as a business opportunity? A wedding venue, whatever, the rumours are rife. How will that benefit the people of Seaford? And will it be done in a philanthropic way? Will the money that it makes as some sort of business opportunity be as effective a use of it as something that will benefit the community itself? Sadly, there does not seem to be the vision seen in other coastal places. I'm afraid to say I find the interior of the view dreary and unimaginative. But places like the Marine Workshops in New Haven...
4 minutes.
Sorry, okay. As yet, there's no explanation as to how this historic building, which was built by Napoleonic soldiers, is going to be used. Have Historic England been consulted? Have the South Hill Barn Working Group got a plan? If so, I feel it should be a transparent one and shared with the town's residents before proceeding. As my very last point, could I ask the councillors to consider again the fact that neither Burling Gap nor Beachy Head are approached through a formerly quiet residential road?
Please.
Okay.
I have to ask you to...
Okay. And residential permits instead of yellow lines.
A lot of detail you've got in there. Some of which we can address, some of which we can't, because a lot of this is about Lewis District planning. So quite a lot of this is outside our remit, but we can only comment on other people's plans. But thank you for your interest and your input. Who would like to speak next?
Thank you.
Gentleman on the front, thank you.
So on item 25 as well. There's no doubt at all that that car park is getting busier and busier, more and more popular. And there's a problem, as you've seen. There's a fantastic picture of 6.5 in the thing, and there's parking all the way down the road. We talked about the Ripple, the overspill, and you only have to look at Arlington Reservoir or Abbotswood, where people are canning and they park outside. So what does that mean? We have more and more cars parking down the side of that private way, which, you know, as was very clearly explained, is really dangerous. You've got kids, you've got cyclists coming up there, walkers going up there. I just can't see how that would have. With the paper parking, I've read the report and I can't understand if you're trying to deter people from going up there by paper, or is it trying to be, you're trying to gain extra money for the council? And what is that money for? If it is for finance and for revenue generation, can we ring fence that money to look after the barn, or maybe even go towards the replacing the steps at Hope Gap? Again, lastly, towards the barn, I don't understand why we need to do anything with the barn. Has the council got any evidence that we need another venue? You know, what's wrong with leaving the barn is preserving in its heritage. I don't. If it costs £1 million maybe to do up, how on earth, how long will it take to pay back? You know, it's just is there a return on investment or anything of that size? I just don't get it. With the road, I think, as you said, you're seeking legal advice. The bridleway has got really dubious legal stuff around it. So, are we right to be investing in a car park and everything else up there when we really don't understand what the legal status is? And also, my final point is, if we make it pay and display, are we really making it a legitimate car parking and therefore not attracting more people up there, making the problem worse? Thank you.
Thank you for your submission. Jackie, thank you.
I don't know what agenda item it is, but it's not 25.
It's not right. Okay.
I like to be a rebel.
Oh, right.
So I've come here today because Seaford needs your help. As many of you know, Lewis District Council are currently consulting on which green spaces in our town should be designated for protection. Although we currently have a small number of green spaces designated in our neighbourhood plan, Lewis District Council has said these sites will be reviewed against the criteria in this consultation to ensure they're still meeting the definition for designation in a new local plan. So to be clear, the sites currently protected in our neighbourhood plan could lose their local green space designation and protection, leaving them vulnerable to speculative development. A Lewes District Councillor confirmed today that evidence needs to be submitted for any site that the town would like to be considered for protection. This is the only chance for sites to be put forward for designation. Evidence must be submitted by completing a form by the 28th of February, so the town has got 1 month to protect any sites it feels is important. We've been told any site not designated a local green space can be put forward for development. Lewes District Council have produced a list of all the green spaces in our town that are listed in either the Lewes Open Space Strategy Report or the Local Green Space Report. There are 57 sites that could potentially meet the criteria set by Lewes District Council, plus 2 that Lewes are excluding, which I feel should be included. That includes allotments, so it's not me being selfish. There are many sites that Lewes District Council planning officers have said we can't include for protection due to their size. This goes against national planning policy guidance, which says there is no minimum space criteria. So it's not clear why Lewes are enforcing this rule, but it could be seen as a way for them to meet the requirements for allocating small sites for development of 10 houses or less. The criteria for inclusion is on the Lewes District Council website. It includes, amongst other things, beauty, historical significance, recreational value, including as a playing field, tranquility and wildlife. I can't take on this task, so I've produced a list of the sites and I'm asking all councillors to look at the list, consider the sites that are in your ward that deserve to be allocated for protection. I ask you to alert local residents in your ward so they can take action. Most residents value their green spaces and very few are even aware this process is taking place. Also, I ask for ward councillors to liaise with officers so a final list of sites can be submitted by the town council, as that will have a greater impact than sites submitted by residents. I'm happy to send a report on local green spaces to any councillor that would like more information, and that's based on Lewes District. It's not just me pulling something out of thin air. And then tomorrow, Lewes District Council have arranged an engagement event at the Downs Leisure Centre between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. to discuss this phase of the local plan, including designation of local green spaces. I hope as many of you as possible will be able to attend and ask questions of Lewes District Council planning officers regarding the local green space designations and the implications for our town. And that includes questions like, why can't we protect our allotments? National Planning Policy Guidance says protect allotments. Now, you'll be fobbed off by planning officers because they'll say they're policy, but it's a direct management policy, which means it doesn't have the same power. So please don't be fobbed off. And if anybody wants that list,
draw to a close now,
I've
please.
finished. There's a list if anyone wants it.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you very much indeed. Does anyone else, any other member of the public, wish to participate?
Can I just raise one point?
Yes,
With
sir.
regard to 25, nobody's mentioned the movement of all these sheep up and down the road. Absolutely. More, you know, especially today, there have been loads of movements up and down today because of lambing, but all through the year, up and down, up and down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, so I'm going to bring section 3 to a stop. Thank you very much for a very full public participation. What I'm intending to do, to make life easier for everyone, is that once we've got through petitions, we're going to bring agenda item 25 forward, so that it's those who wish to listen to the debate can then leave. We do have an exempt part to this, so it's not straightforward, but it just seems, because the larger number of people seem to be here for that reason, we just thought that was something that would save you a couple of hours of sitting through other things that may be less interesting to you, even as committed Seaford residents, if that's okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to, item 4 now is petitions. In accordance with the Town Council petitions policy, this is a standard agenda item to facilitate any public petitions being presented to and noted by full council. Please note that this would not prompt a discussion on the petition at this meeting. Are there any public petitions? No. Okay, so I am suggesting that we now fast forward to agenda item 25, which is in the third...
Page 177.
Thank you, Scott. 177. Right, okay. So this is about the legal advice and introduction of a pay and display scheme for Seaford Barn. So it's an issue that we have discussed several times in the public participation, and we are seeking approval for officers to seek legal advice regarding Seaford Barn and the access road, and seeking approval for officers to introduce a trial pay and display scheme for the 2026-2027 financial year. So,
just before we launch into the discussion on this, I was just going to point out an admin point on page 177 that has actually got, at least on my copy, agenda item 27 on it, but just for thoroughness and completeness, we're talking about that as being 25.
oh, I see. Right. So the agenda item is yes, it is 25. Yes, thank you. Right. Okay. Peter.
So as you can see from the paper, the situation at Seaford Barn is complicated to say the least. It is important for us to fully grasp the situation up there at the moment. But it's also important for us to start to take some action to address the growing visitor numbers and the impact that they are having on the site and the surrounding area. And I welcome any questions.
Councillor Dunn and then Councillor Huber.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I want to speak on this agenda item. Sorry, Councillor, I have prepared a statement. Residents have asked me, why does Seaford Town Council, why does the council want to risk further a beautiful sensitive area which is already in decline? We have an agenda item 15 at 2.5. The SSSI, Seaford Dead Nature Reserve, is already in decline. We're struggling with the excessive visitor numbers by allowing coaches to still... Why are we still allowing coaches to still travel up the access road, which is already under deterioration? It's bad enough with cars. I'd like to know at 3.7, where exactly is this adjacent field? I've known the barn for years. Ever since I was a councillor in 2011, we were told to stay away from Seaford Barn. It's too complicated, too expensive. But it states here that there's an adjacent field that will, at 3.18, an overflow area for coach parking. I'm not quite sure. As I understand it, there's farmers' fields around. 3.7, I would like to understand how would an attendant, one person, which has already been raised, prevent vehicles, including coaches and larger vehicles, from entering the car park, as all vehicles will have to enter to be able to turn round, and then at the same time the same person has to ensure that cars park efficiently to maximise the space. And then how does this one person discourage parking along the access road, which we know is a bridleway, which is already a major issue? 3.18. Why would coaches pay a premium to park if they can drop off and park along the bridleway or in around the residential roads? I've read the survey in full, and 5.3 of the survey says large coaches mainly operate on a drop-off and pick-up basis, perhaps lessening the need for formal coach parking. 6.1 of the survey states excessive amount of parking occurring in the surrounding lanes away from the formal car park facility. I have one last statement. How does, for me personally, introducing pay and display at Seaford Barn support and manage the extra visitor numbers which will double by still allowing coaches and stopping the parking. How do we do this? By stopping the parking along the access road, as there is no parking control over the bridleway. Thank you.
Would you like to take that?
Some of those questions, I don't know if we can answer, but I can answer some of them.
I can answer some of them. On the coaches specifically, why they will continue to be allowed. At the moment, there is not a mechanism that can be used quickly and easily to prevent coaches. So the only ways you can do it is either a physical barrier, which as we don't own most of the track, we can't put in, or apply for a TRO. I was advised recently that they're taking up to 18 months and costing in excess of £5,000 at the moment. So it's not to say that we won't look at that in future, but this paper is about doing something in the immediate moment.
If I can just add to that as well, if you don't mind that. We're not Highways Authority, so we can't prevent coaches from driving up Chington Way. We don't have that as a power of the Town Council. The only way we could physically stop coaches, as Peter says, is to put a height barrier up on the bridleway. But it could only be at the point where we own the bridleway, which means coaches would get halfway up, get stuck, and have to reverse all the way back down, which is more dangerous than it currently is.
Can I return on that or not?
Right. Do you have something extra to add to
Yes, the bridleway is not the legislation around the bridleway is that you should not allow any vehicular access, motorised vehicles to traverse up it. It's a criminal offence by all the landowners.
That's not true. They don't have a right of way up it, but that's not the same thing as it being that we shouldn't allow them up it. There's a distinct nuance in the law.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, the other landowners that own the bottom part could cause us major problems at a later date due to the fact that they do own the bottom half. We only own the top half. But anyway,
I think that's for another discussion, really, isn't it? That's the whole issue, is that we are trying to do something as a trial that starts soon. I think no one can honestly say we know what's going to happen, but we know that we can't carry on doing nothing because it is chaos up there. And I think what we have to do is take some action that was within our timescale now, and see what effect it has.
And then just going on to the field as well.
Yes.
So if you go into the car park and then go towards the right, there's a gate there going up towards the golf course. Mm-hmm. If you open that gate on the right hand side there is a field which is mown, and the farmer has given us permission to use that field and keeps it cut ready for us to use. We currently do occasionally use it for filming licensing. There's a large turning circle there as well, so it means that once coaches have got up there, we can safely turn them around instead of them having to reverse. So as we can't prevent coaches currently, as we previously discussed, this is a way that we can get them in, safely turned around outside of the main car park and away from pedestrians.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any councillors?
I've already put my hand up.
Yep. Councillor Dubas, thank you.
So you've written this paper, Peter, and it doesn't seem to take into account the voice of residents. And I feel that you're not listening to what people are saying. My residents and people in the audience here are saying they don't want coaches, they don't want you to open the field, they don't want car parking charges, they don't want it to be the norm that car parking is extended up there. Putting car parking there, you're encouraging parking. Seven Sisters Country Park have stopped coaches. Why are we giving the message saying, come here, come to us, come and pollute our fields, come and pollute our roads, our residents? leave it as it is, leave it as a free space if you have to, but only for cars. And put a barrier halfway up. Don't pay for machines, because it's so have a barrier there. At the moment, coaches are getting stuck halfway up anyway because there's the cars down the road, so what's the difference? You can write to all the coach companies and say, you're not welcome, we don't want coaches. That will stop some of them if you tell them that there's a barrier there. Those that do end up going up will have to reverse back.
We do that anyway.
Just stop the expense of everything and put a barrier up.
Yes.
Without straying into the confidential papers and other things, I feel I can't.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, there are some legal issues here which I think we'll have to go into. If we want to discuss further, we'll have to go into an exempt session. Is there anything else that Councillor Adeniji?
Can I come back to the just trying to make my notes up?
Right. Okay. Anyone? Yeah. Sorry. Councillor Markwell and then Councillor. Councillor Horrow.
Thank you. I just wanted to raise the point of costs. Going back to something that one of the residents also said about paying for the parking and where the funding is going. Because it was my understanding, this is just a point of clarity on the debate, that it was my understanding that the costs from the car park tickets would actually probably support the car park warden. I don't know that it would be enough to put in a reserve account that's going to be as much as putting towards anything else, though that sounded fantastic ideas, but I thought that was kind of the negotiation on it really, that we were thinking that you'd be able to raise the funds from the car parking to actually pay for the warden. And if that is the case, my only other thought is that if that's I mean, obviously installation is cost, but if that comes out at no cost, maybe there's the opportunity to budget for an extra warden, because I still can't see how one warden, I don't see it in reality as one warden working. I think that would be quite difficult if we went down that route, that's all, so I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
Thank you. Councillor Horrow and then Councillor Brewster.
Yeah, a short question actually. Could you talk a little bit about what the free residence permit would look like, how that would actually work in reality? How would, would people have something physical that every resident Seaford gets and then they take it up, or how would that work?
So early discussions have taken place with Lewis District Council about them providing something from their Tourist Information Centre. There would be a small fee or a commission that we have to pay for them, but the idea is that the residents will bring in some proof of the address in BN25 and will be provided with a residence permit that they could put in the window to prevent the need for them to have to pay to park.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brewster.
Thank you. Thanks for the report, officers, and thanks for all the comments and everyone who's come here today and the points from the councillors. I am one of the 4 or 5 or 6 councillors who've been involved in the South Hill Barn working group over this time, which has seen us spend many hours deliberating the very wicked problem, I think is the term for it, where it's so interlinked. You try and solve one bit only to find that the sort of intertangled chain of the necklace tightens in another bit. I grew up on Rodmell Road. I used to do my paper round when I was a teenager where you all live. I did my cross country up there. I spent most of my free time down
Point
at
of order. Sorry, can you talk to the chair, not to the
Sorry, Councillor Borman.
Thank you.
So yes, well, I'm not fortunate to live in that corner of Seaford at the moment. I go there quite a lot, and just last Sunday witnessed one of the big coaches coming up South Down Road. No guesses where it had been. It is very difficult up there. I think whilst I'll leave the larger questions about the actual future of South Hill Barn, which hasn't been decided because we found that we were having such a problem with the traffic, and wanted to concentrate on this first and foremost. So it's not that there's a lack of transparency, it's that we have to deal with the immediate problem. I'm really in favour of doing something, trying something for this coming season. I think we've had several seasons recently where it's just becoming more and more unmanageable and more dangerous and worse for the wildlife as well. And I don't believe there is a silver bullet. However, I do think that a trial pay and display scheme for this summer would be worthwhile doing on the basis of the evidence that we've got, on the basis of the fact that we can't get a traffic regulation order in for this coming year. Yes, there may be some displacement, there may be some encouragement, but there may also be some deterrent impact from it. I think it will be good to see, rather than just to leave the situation largely in the folds of social media and everything else that's going on to bring people up to the top there. I do think that it's tricky, perhaps just having one member of staff, having done various voluntary car parking myself. I don't think I'd necessarily want to just have one person up there. In the future, I'd like us to look at things like automatic number plate recognition or QR code booking somewhere at the bottom, working more with other landowners and stakeholders. But at the moment, we are where we are, and we need to try and do something for our bit, which is very difficult because it is the last bit on the top of the road. So yeah, I'm in favour of doing something, but I just wanted everyone in the room to know that I'm hearing all the perspectives, and as long as I'm on the working group, I'll certainly be bearing those closely in mind as I go forwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Duba, you have a new...
It's a new one because I forgot to note it.
Right.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, it's in relation to item recommendation 3. I'd like to propose an amendment, please. And I don't mind doing that at the end, or I can do it now.
Georgia, what would you like? Can you do it now?
It's up to you. I mean, there's not been any debate on that.
We haven't spoken about this, so maybe we should have a discussion about the expenditure before we actually have an amendment. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank
Let
you.
me know when I can do the amendment, please.
I will, yes, thank you. Councillor Azanugi,
Thank you, Chair.
have you gathered your thoughts now?
So, okay, yes, I was going to propose an amendment to recommendation 4. Am I allowed to do that, or we can?
We've talked about that.
Yeah, because we're talking about that now.
Yeah, let's talk about that now.
I mean, I think, gosh, I've got to be very polite here. This is a recipe for chaos in Chintin Way, because this is not the right solution for a town. I mean, and what we need to do is send a message that we do not want coaches to come to Seaford. We are not a drop-off point. It's been rejected in Berlin Gap, it's been rejected in Seven Sisters, and we want it rejected in Seaford as well. So I think that should be the first message. And I'm not quite clear what the overriding aim or objective of this proposal is. Whilst I understand that we've got to do something, sometimes doing something but not doing the right thing is not the solution. And I don't think this is the right solution. There are many issues. One is actually the practicalities. All we're doing is just shifting traffic from the ban along along Chintin Way, along the bridle path. And I think that should be our priorities, is how do we actually address those issues. And I think what I would like to see is actually consulting the residents. The residents are affected by this, and they also have an idea as to what is the best way forward. What's quite clear tonight, and what's been quite clear from the emails I've received, that this solution is not acceptable to many residents in Chintin Way. And I would therefore implore us to engage and find a solution. And we can do that within a short space of time to find a solution that involves the residents working together. And this is an example, and let's have an example of the town council working with residents to find a solution that works for our town. Because I think that's what we all here, and that's what we elected to do. So I'll be proposing that, as I said, I don't want to go, I do agree with many of the arguments being put forward. I don't think having one attendant is actually practical. I've got concerns about having a coach car park. So I've got different concerns. So I think, but the best way to address these concerns is actually to work with residents. And I'll be proposing that before we agree to a trial, we do consult with residents. So I would like to see that I'd like to have an amendment if I can.
Amendment to number 4.
Number 4.
So would you like the
what would you like to provide a
that we do have either a working group of residents in Chinton Way to come up with a solution that is workable and bring back onto the next meeting.
Is that an addition or an alternative?
An
I was going to
alternative.
say, because this isn't an amendment to number 4, it's an addition.
It negates,
not?
yes. It wouldn't effectively be negating.
But that rather negates number 4. It's not an amendment.
It's not an amendment.
Negated, so you can't really amend things, can you?
Councillor Adeniji is entitled to put the amendment to a vote, though.
No, I can't have an amendment that negates the original vote. In that, can I?
No, I think the answer would be that you would seek to persuade councillors to vote against recommendation 4.
That's right. We would just have to reject it, not amend it. Is my understanding.
So that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I just come back on a couple of the points that you've
Please
raised?
do. Yeah.
To clarify, whilst the coaches travelling up the bridleway are a problem, I'm aware that the number of cars travelling up the bridleway is also a problem. You know, some of the photographs in the report from Project Centre display a row of cars parked down the side of the bridleway. That's it's not just coaches that's the issue. And even if we could put a height barrier up halfway up, even if we did that to stop coaches, that wouldn't solve all of the problem. And the second part is, yes, whilst there would be some knock-on effect to Chington Way, the report talks about some mitigations that we'd be seeking to put in place in terms of, in our response to the East Sussex parking review, to preempt them, to forewarn East Sussex of this trial, and to see if they can put some preemptive action in place to try and prevent parking down Chington Way. We can't control what East Sussex do with Chington Way because it's their land, but obviously we can forewarn them that this is a trial, and they could then consider what they can do down Chington Way to try and prevent displaced parking there.
Can I just come back on that,
As long as it's new information.
I don't, with due respect, I don't agree with that. Just saying that the county council should find a solution to Chington Way, because what you actually saying is that you want yellow lines in Chington Way. There are no two ways to that. Do we want to have yellow lines?
But it could be residents only parking.
So, excuse me?
It could be residents only parking.
Well, that's something that has to be driven by residents, and that's my concern, is that we need to get residents' involvement in that, rather than that. But that, I don't want to belabor the point, but I don't understand, and maybe explain to me how having the pay and display will prevent people from parking along the bridleway. And that's the question I'm still not quite sure.
Okay. Can I move on? So Councillor Bristow and then Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, I'm just through
And
the chair.
if other people would like to talk, could we please contribute? Because there are several things in this paper that we haven't discussed yet. And we still have to move to the exempt item and then have a vote. So we really need to bring this to a close, please.
Through the chair, I'd like to understand how Councillor Adeniji proposes to run a working group of residents. And the residents obviously have a lot to contribute and say, but our standing orders require working groups to have councillors and or officers as well. Are you also, is Councillor Adeniji a representing residents for another council in this area as well? And given that I'm not aware Councillor Adeniji's been on any other working group since I've been in the term, how would that work? Thank you. What's the offer?
You answer that and then I'll move on.
I think the most important thing, and again it is quite clear from the strength of feeling both from the emails I've received and from residents, is that the residents have a different viewpoint to what's been proposed today. And therefore I think it's therefore important that residents, that we do listen at least to the concerns that have been raised by residents.
Can you talk to me, please, point of order?
So I think, and that's what I'm suggesting today, is that we do listen to, that we do listen to these concerns and try and incorporate that in the solution for the town.
Thank you. I would say myself, as an active member of the Seaford Barn working group, this is an extremely thorny problem, and we've had enormous amounts of very helpful data from residents already. This is not starting anew. They conducted the first survey. So we have had huge amounts of cooperation and input from very concerned residents in Chington Way and around that area for years.
No, exactly.
So I think we have to acknowledge that and thank people for their input. And we are getting a lot of information, photographs, documentary evidence that fed into the parking survey. So we are not starting anew. This is not something suddenly out of the wild blue yonder that we are coming to suggest. This is a transition of what has a prolonged dialogue that has been going on as long as we've been in office. So I think we just have to make that point. Councillor Dunn and then Councillor Dubar, and then unless there's anyone who hasn't spoken before, I'm going to draw this to a close.
I want to ask, why do residents need residence permits for a commission, so it's going to cost money, to park, which they do now free? And my other question, which basically didn't answer, I agree. How does introducing the pay and display at Seaford Barn support the excessive amount of extra visitors and the problems with the bridleway? That question tonight hasn't been answered. How that mitigates the parking on the bridleway. I would like that answer because it hasn't been answered this evening. Thank you.
Councillor Duba, this is the last one.
It's all right.
Councillor Lord, welcome.
Thank you.
We've moved to agenda item 25. We are now talking. We've fast forwarded to agenda item 25 because it's a major public participation interest. Thank you.
So you've talked about double yellow lines on Chinkton Way, but residents have emailed me and said putting double yellow lines on Chinkton Way is not the solution, because all that does is make the road nice and clear and wide for people to speed down. So I just wanted to make that point. The fact that you've been engaging with the Chinkton Way and other people about the Seaford Barn parking problem, and they've contributed towards it, which is absolutely fantastic because it has informed me an awful lot about this. Nobody has actually come forward with a solution, but what we do know from this meeting tonight is that making people pay for parking and letting coaches park in a spare field is not the answer. We don't know what the answer is. Nobody's come up with a solution, but car park charging is not the answer.
Thank you.
So I would like to now make an amendment if that's possible. If that's the end of the discussion.
And which amendment?
So I think
do you want
items 4, 5 and 6 are linked and should be discussed together if Councillor Adinage is going to make recommendations or amendment or whatever to get people to, because if you're voting against a car park trial, then you're also voting against expenditure to buy machines, and you're also voting against a car park attendant. So those are linked together.
It already says they're on there between recommendations 4 and 5.
Yes,
it says
that is subject to.
We won't go on to 5, 6 and 7 subject
yeah.
to.
On the top it says that it's subject. Yeah.
So my recommendation is point number 3, if I may.
Yeah.
So I want to change number 3 to say to remove the expenditure of £10,000 to pay for legal expenses to discharge or modify the agricultural covenant until such time as it is agreed in consultation with the public that it should be changed from agricultural use.
Here, here.
Negates the whole point of the recommendation.
Have you got that? Have you got that suggested amendment? Yes. Okay. While you're doing that, Councillor Boran wants to speak. Thank you, Councillor Duba. Definitely the last one.
Thank you, Chair. I was actually going to ask about this covenant for agriculture. Does it actually need to be put into this now in order to have this pay and display parking, or is this something that could possibly come back to us? I don't fully understand where that comes from. The other point I'd like to make is regard to these free residence parking for the car park. We know there's huge amounts of cars going up there. We also know that a lot of Seaford residents drive there and park there. If we do not allow residents free parking, we can mitigate some of the, or possibly mitigate some of these people parking who live in the town. They can start walking up there. So I don't think giving free passes to residents for parking up there is a solution to the cars up there. We do know that coaches are an issue, and this is a longer term thing that we will need to look into. But I do think we need to start somewhere and then work out whether this works, how it works, what's good, what's bad, and maybe keep looking further on. But we do need to start somewhere.
Thank you. Yes, please.
I don't think there's really a link between the agricultural covenant and the proposal for the trial of the pay and display. I think they're two separate things, but they relate to the same area of the town, and they relate to the Seaford Bond working group, so that's why they're both in the same paper. But I don't think it's true to say if we didn't do the agricultural work that we couldn't do the pay and display, if that makes sense. What I do think I would say is that if we do number 2 and spend the money on the legal advice for number 2 and discover that we do need to spend the money on the agricultural tie, having to come back to full council to approve that again significantly delays the Seaford Bond working group, which is part of the strategic plan. So, you know, it might be the case that even if 3 were approved by councillors, we don't need to do that. But it's more efficient for officers to have the authority to do that if we need to, once we get the answer to number 2.
Yeah, thank you. Peter, have you anything else to
I think Steve's answered that, but no, so yeah.
Right.
Quick clarification.
Councillor Bristow, one last.
Quick clarification. So car parking's been up at the barn for 20 plus years. It's classed as agricultural land and it's got an agricultural covenant on it. Seeking to remove that, is there an automatic land purpose, land use type that it would go to, given that the car parking has already been happening routinely for a long time, or is that something that would then need to be applied for?
I think the answer is that officers aren't legally knowledgeable enough to answer that question, which is why we need to get the legal advice.
I mean, my understanding is that we need to spend a small amount of money to make sure we're not wasting a large amount of money and time. That is the difficulty. We cannot not do something. But we may go horribly wrong if we get these basic legal facts out of kilter now. And that's my understanding from being a member of the Seaford Barn Working Group. Councillor Buchanan, do you have anything else to add? Because you're the chair of the working group. And we know that the barn work has stopped because of the traffic and the parking issue. So we're very much wanting to get on with that, but we have to try and solve this problem and establish the facts first.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I wasn't planning to speak, but I don't think there's any doubt that there's an issue of parking, and there's a problem with parking, coaching, motorhomes, cars up at Seaford Barn. We understand the issues related, and we hear the issues related to the residents in Chington Way and whatever. But in this particular instance, if if we don't start doing something now, we won't have anything in place for the next peak season, because with the best will in the world, things don't move that quickly. What I think this is, it's almost a trial year of the points that have been asked to be implemented through this paper. And I think you need two guys there standing, looking after the car parking. But it is a trial year, and then from that we can learn and understand, and we will be in a far better position to have these discussions in a year's time. And I think, if we don't do anything now and we continue to have more discussions, nothing will happen, and we'll be the same. We'll be sitting here in a year's time having the same discussions. So I think I must confess I support the ideas in this paper, and I think I've said my piece. Thank you.
There was a lack of clarity from
No, I'm sorry, you're not
Councillor.
allowed to speak
Sorry.
anymore. The public
Okay.
participation is over, and I'm afraid members of the public, by standing orders, are not allowed to contribute. I'm sorry, we just have to be firm about that. Now, what I'm going to ask is, are any councillors wishing to discuss the exempt appendix? Because if you do want to discuss the exempt appendix relating to item 25, we will have to go into exempt session and ask the members of the public to leave. If we don't want to go into those exempt issues, then we can go ahead and simply vote as required.
Sorry, Madam, can you clarify what you're saying? Right, they want to, sorry, Madam, want members of the public that have made the effort to turn up this evening want to know the outcome of this agenda item that we're discussing. If we go straight to exempt and they have to leave, they
Yes,
never hear.
we would have to ask them to leave to discuss the exempt appendix relating to 25. They would then be able to come back if they wanted to for the vote. But we cannot discuss the exempt item related to agenda item 25.
Okay.
No, I think we have to, I think we vote on it with the public here, because if councillors decide to vote against the trial pay and display, there's nothing to discuss in the exempt. Am I right?
Okay, let's go on, okay? Right, so,
You know the amendment that was proposed for item number 3?
Yes.
It effectively negates the purpose of recommendation 3. We can't have an amendment that negates the purpose of it. So I think the proposal response would be that the way to stop number 3 from being done is to vote on number 3. If that's what councillors felt. I don't think there's a way to
trying to plan the way forward in the most respectful and time efficient way about how we actually ensure that standing orders are agreed with. So after taking advice, we have decided, after advice from officers, that the suggested amendment from Councillor Dubar regarding item recommendation 3 and the suggested amendment by Councillor Adeniji for recommendation 4 are essentially negating the proposals, and that is not an amendment. An amendment is something that says yes but, it doesn't say no. The way to reject these is for it to be proposed and for people to vote against it. You can't have an amendment that negates the process. So
Okay.
what I'm suggesting is that we carry on 1 to 4 and members vote accordingly. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. So, first of all, we're asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Dubar, seconder Councillor Horrow. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that's unanimously passed. Okay.
Excuse me, point of order.
Yes.
Councillor Law didn't vote.
I didn't vote because I've just come in at 8 o'clock, so I've missed the preamble to the vote, so I couldn't really vote because I don't have votes from before. So
Abstain.
I can abstain. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Thank you.
You abstain. Okay, thank you. Right. Recommendation 2 to approve the expenditure of £1,000 to pay for legal advice in relation to the Access Road and Southwell Barnes Agricultural Covenant. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Bristow, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Those in favour, please.
Hang on, keep your hands up.
Yeah.
I'm at 12.
Oh, okay. Anyone against that? 1, 2, 2. Any abstentions? Thank you, Councillor Lord.
Thank you.
So that is passed by majority. Recommendation 3, to approve the expenditure of £10,000, and remembering this is a maximum, this isn't a guarantee that this is going to be needed, to pay for the legal process to discharge or modify the agricultural covenant, should this be required. So can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Borman, seconder, Councillor Buchanan. Those in favour?
So you vote yes?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Okay.
11.
No.
11.
Okay. Are those against? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you, Councillor Lord. So that is passed by majority. Well, I hope that's okay. We have to comply with standing orders. And finally, to agree to the 1-year trial of a pay and display scheme at Southwell Barnes car park. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Bristow, a seconder, please. Councillor Buchanan. Those in favour? They've got to do it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. To agree.
No, not sheep.
Okay.
Councillor.
So,
Point of order.
Sorry.
yes, Councillor.
I believe I overheard Councillor Dunn
Yes,
telling
sorry,
to other councillors of
sorry.
sheep.
Okay,
And I'd like to, can I speak?
I apologise.
May I speak? I would like to remind all councillors of the council dignity and respect policy. And if I would invite councillors who feel they cannot abide by that to leave.
I apologise.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. We'll shut this down. Thank you. But please remember, we are in a public space and we are setting an example. So thank you.
Completely uncalled for.
Thank you. Okay. I've lost the plot now. Those against? 1, 2, 3. And any abstentions? Thank you, Councillor Lord.
Thank you. So
again, that is passed by a majority.
Because number 4 has been passed, we need to move on.
Right, so we need to move on to the final 3 because 5, 6 and 7 were dependent on those votes, if that makes sense. So I'm inclined to take all these 3 together for the sake of time. Are we happy with...
Councillor, or was that a point of order?
Yeah, on our recommendation 6, we had quite a lot of conversation about the 1 or 2 attendance. Do we need to take an amendment on looking at that?
Are you proposing that?
I'm not proposing, because I wasn't one of the people that brought it up, but I thought that those are the we might want to.
Not yet, to be honest.
What do you want me to do? Do you want to change and amend the number of car park attendants? Yes, please.
Through the chair, I think officers' view is that we aren't yet sure how successful or not successful this trial park pay and display scheme is going to be. And there isn't a budget to be paying for the car park attendant. The idea is the car park attendant is paid out of the proceeds from the pay and display. We've talked in the report about the fact that we would look to monitor the success of the scheme regularly throughout the year, and I think it would probably be more sensible for officers to look to report back to councillors if it were the case that one car park attendant wasn't coping, But obviously I respect the councillors' views if they wish to put an amendment.
Councillor Bristow, Councillor Adeyemi.
Can I propose an amendment to inject some flexibility for officers in this? So it'd be to agree to the recruitment for a casual car park attendant, the functionality of a car park attendant bracket S or something along those lines, so that officers can, at their discretion, cover that should it be needed.
So you like to propose an amendment? Okay. And Councillor Adeyemi?
Thank you. I just wanted to see if it was possible to, I know it's 1 year trial, that's been agreed, but I wondered if we're supposed to maybe to have some, another, and I've got to be careful standing order here, another amendment to say we continue to review this and if at any one point in time it's decided that it's going to have an adverse effect, because we don't know what the knock-on effect will be. This could actually work wonderfully well, or it could actually create what we think is going to do, create problems and change in way. But I would like to see if there's a mechanism whereby we say we can, officers can continue to review this in that 12-month period, so that and if anything, and if something catastrophic happens, we can maybe stop the trial. I don't know if that's possible.
But that's encapsulated in recommendation 7, is it not? Officers will bring the review back in recommendation 7.
Okay.
Yeah?
Just to clarify, sorry, are you saying that we could stop it before the year's trial?
Yes, that's the
I think that would undermine recommendation 4, which has already passed. Because
okay, that's what I was trying to
say.
There is a difference. Are you happy?
No, I'm fine with that. You're just finding a way to kind of see if we can.
Yes, okay. I think there is some baked-in flexibility.
To do a vote on Councillor Bristow.
Yes, I know. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Councillor Markworth.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just very briefly, just to say, in terms of it being a trial, I'm imagining that you're going to be constantly monitoring it. It's a trial.
Yes.
You're not going to wait and just not look at the numbers for 12 months and then decide something.
Yes.
So I would imagine that you've got monitoring and evaluation all the way through. So I think in a way, Councillor Adeyemi's point is well made, but I would hope that you're doing it a lot less than a year.
Okay. Right, so what I'd like to do is come back to Councillor Bristow's amendment for recommendation 6. And the amendment is to agree to the recruitment of casual car park attendant S in brackets. Is that all right? Would you like to propose that?
Yes, I'll propose it.
Would anyone like to second that? Councillor Buchanan. We have a vote. Are those in favour on that amendment? I hope it's fairly straightforward. Yes, okay. Anyone against? Councillor Dubar. Any abstentions? Councillor Lord and Councillor Dunn. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to 5 because it looks like I'm going to have to get votes on this separately now. So recommendation 5 to approve in principle expenditure to buy the 2 pay and display machines of option A, because we haven't really talked about the different prices. But these are the most basic ones. These are the cheapest ones. I presume they're solar powered and they have no tickets and they are card only. And this is subject to planning commission. So can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Buchanan and the seconder, Councillor Warner. Those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Councillor Dubar and Councillor Dunn, and any abstentions? Councillor Lord. Thank you. So that is passed. So going to recommendation 6, which is the amended recommendation, which is the recruitment of casual car park attendants, in brackets, as detailed in the report 158. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Taylor, seconder, Councillor Richard Honeyman. Those in favour, please. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Any against? Thank you. And any abstentions? Thank you. So that is passed with the amendment. And finally, to note that officers will bring the review of the trial back to full council in early 2027 with recommendations about the potential future of the trial scheme or otherwise. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Olivia Honeyman, a seconder, please. Councillor Foreman, those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Councillor Dunn, and abstentions, please. Thank you. Right, I think we've done that justice, I hope so. If members of the public would like to leave at this stage, thank you again for your... So I'm going to reinstate standing orders at 22:09. We have 2 members of the public remaining with us. Thank you. So I'm now going to revert back to the agenda order as it was, and we're going to start with agenda item 5, which are the minutes. I'm going to have to take these individually, I'm afraid. So 5.1, assets and facilities. Can I have the chair of assets and facilities? Are you happy to propose? Can we have a seconder for the assets and facilities, please? Thank you. Those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Right, 5.2, the extraordinary full council. I'm happy to propose those minutes. Could I have a seconder, please? Seconder for the Councillor Bristow. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? No. Any abstentions? No. Okay. Finance and general purposes. Can I have the chair of you're proposing? Thank you. Could I have a seconder for finance and general? Councillor Horrell. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. And we note that there is a matter arising from that will be discussed later in the agenda. Next one is full council from the 23rd of October. I'm happy to propose that. Could someone second, please? Councillor Dubar. All those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Golf and open spaces. Could I have this proposed by the chair of GOSCA, please?
I think I chaired that one.
Oh, did you? Right, okay, right.
Yes.
Councillor Buchanan, thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Bristow, thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. Any any those against? None. Any abstentions? No. And there is going to be the climate action change, which is a matter arising from that. Next is personnel. Can I have the chair of personnel committee proposed? Thank you, Councillor Markwell. A seconder, please. Councillor Olivia Honeyman. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. And we note that we don't have the minutes of the January 2026 Personnel Committee. And Planning and Highways from, are you happy, Councillor Borman, are you happy for me to take all these together?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I'm proposing the 30th of October, 18th of November, 17th of December. Are you happy to propose all those as you chaired them all? Yes. A second, Councillor Lloyd. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. Right. We've cleared agenda item 5. Agenda item 6 is my mayor's update report. Are there any questions, queries? That's really just listing what I've been doing, getting up to, representing the town, and trying to support our charities and local organisations. So I'm happy to propose that. we're asked, we're not asked to note the content of the report. I'm happy to propose that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Buchanan, those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Town Council Working Group reports. Do we have anyone who would like to make any submissions under this? I think we have. Yeah.
Just really in terms of the concessions working group that we tried to establish last year, we only have 2 volunteer councillors. And if there's no one else, then I think the only proposal we can come up with is to change the timing of the meeting to the evening, because I think the 4 o'clock proposed start was causing a number of councillors not to be able to take part. So I'm going to propose that we change the timing of the meeting, and I'll invite councillors tomorrow by email to volunteer to be part of that working group with a later start time, so that we can actually kick off that working group's piece of work.
Do you want to vote on that, or are you just happy to suggest it?
It doesn't need to. It doesn't need it.
Right, okay. Agenda item 8, outside body representative reports. Does anyone wish to add anything from their outside body representative activity? Councillor Dugar.
Just to let people know, I'm the Friends of Bishopstone Station, and I go there periodically with the full council agenda and discuss it with members of the group that come. And they're not just coming from my ward, they're coming from other wards. So I get direct feedback there, so it's a good way to interact with residents. And they've got recently introduced cafe workshops for dementia people from residential places around the area. They've just got funding for that. But on the 12th of February, they're going to be receiving the King's Award for Voluntary Services. So that's an excellent move by the people who run that voluntary.
Well done. That's very well done. I went to the shortlisting ceremony where I knew that they'd made the shortlist, and I've been invited to the award ceremony on the 12th of February, so I think we should send our joint congratulations. They've done extremely good work, and it's delightful that the scheme has recognised their hard work and their support for a wide range in the community. So it's a job very well done. Yeah, absolutely. Any other contributions to this agenda item? Councillor Markwell?
Yes, just to say, I'm on the Chamber of Commerce outside body. I just wanted to say again that the relationship between the Chamber and the Town Council grows. It seems to grow positively every year, and due to the enormous hard work of the events team, including our officer Sharon here and her team, working to make Christmas magic happen, which was again very, very successful. Second year running really that I've been doing this, that they put an enormous amount of voluntary support and help in to making that collaboration work, and I think we just should commend the fact that they are working so well with us these days. And the reports I get back from other chambers of commerce is they do not work as well with their town councils or district councils as Seaford seems to have done. So I think we stand out in this partnership, and I think that's a really good positive thing.
Thank you. Any further updates from outside bodies? Okay. Yeah. So on agenda item 9, this is the opportunity for district or county councillors. You know who you are. Would anybody like to make any comments about district or council activities as affecting Seaford? Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Chair. I'll give an update as a district councillor for Seaford West. Back in the November district council meeting, I brought a question to the portfolio holder for infrastructure and planning regarding the Section 106 monies that have been put by from the Newlands development several years ago, which have now entered their second phase in what's called the cascade process, whereby the area of search is extended to include towns across the coastal belt. I asked about whether the money had been indexed in any way, and I received a response that it has been put in an account where it's accumulated interest and so on, so it is keeping up somewhat with things, and also that the District Council and the Sussex FA are due to have a meeting any time now to discuss the prospect of spend across the area of search, with a view to then considering whether that phase 2 can be possibly truncated and phase 3 may be able to begin sooner than is outlined, but that is to be advised. So there is some, and I know that town councillors as well have also been working on this matter, and there's been quite a lot of interest in the community and from other councillors and so on. So there is a spotlight on it, and there is a push on it for it to be spent in Seaford.
Thank you very much. That's heartening to know, because there is a lot of disinformation about who holds that money and who can apply for it. So thank you for that clarification. That's excellent. Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to sort of reiterate what one of our residents said earlier on about the fact that we have the consultation session. We've got the local plan consultation going on. It's really important that everybody joins in and actually fills in the consultation. You sign up and everything, it's fortunate. And we have got the event at the Down Social Centre tomorrow evening. And obviously we've still got lots going on, but please everyone participate in the local plan, because it's really important to do.
Thank you. Councillor
Just very, very briefly, just to let you know that a petition went in about parking outside Chinton School, and that's been discussed by the lead member of planning in mid-February, so the exact date hasn't been known. We're trying to look at getting the school's parking, preferably, hopefully, maybe even get a zebra crossing along the school. First, I've also got a question. The next full council meeting is on the 12th of February, the 10th of February, and the question has been sent in about the 8259. If you remember that the junction from Marine Parade joining to 859 has been a long going issue for years, and we had 2 years ago there was a study which was being done along the coast. So again, that has stalled since the election. So nothing's happened about that. But that is going. Hopefully, we should get a reply back from the lead member. The cabinet met 2 days ago on Tuesday and agreed a 4.99% increase in council tax, which is the maximum they could do. 2% for adult social care, and there's 11 million deficit. And I won't bore you with LGR. Everybody knows the election has been delayed.
LGR being local government organisation. Thank you.
Can I just respond to something?
You wish to ask Councillor Antonigi?
Yes, I just
yes,
wanted
please do.
to. Thank you, Chair. This is in relation to the 259, particularly to Bishopstone Junction, which a number of us around the table are extremely familiar with, overly familiar with. We do know that our MP, within the last few months actually, has met with relevant ministers of transport about that precise intersection. So I do feel encouraged that there is some movement in that area, and that we're not stuck. It's a huge issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further district or county council? Okay. Right, we're going to move on now to agenda item 10, which is the Town Clerk's Update Report. Over to you, Clark.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to take it as read apart from 2 points within my report. One is, the first one is 1.10 on page 16, which says that at the time of writing, the East Sussex County Council elections have been requested but not approved. That has now been approved to be delayed until 2027 since this was written. And the other point I've raised is that towards the end of my report, at 5.2, I've noted that I'm very receptive to feedback and comments about the format of this report if councillors feel it is becoming over lengthy and or unwieldy. Because as the year goes on and the council passes more and more resolutions, the length of the report seems to grow. So if councillors would like to give me feedback on whether that's too long or whether they'd like it to be shortened, then I'd be welcoming of that feedback. And on that note, I'd welcome any questions.
Can I make a rather whimsical comment? That on page 18, 1.13, it was Councillor L. Sturton who serenaded me with violin music at the very last minute at Christmas Magic and the Lantern Parade, and I would like to thank he and his son once again for saving the day, and I shall never listen to oh God, what was it called? It was a folk tune, Mary's Wedding, without thinking about that Lantern Parade. So thank you very much to Councillor Sturton.
Lord help us had Councillor R. Sturton attempted the same thing.
But it was L. Sturton, not R. Sturton. Sorry, I'm being whimsical. Sorry, Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on the strategy programme, page 29, improve and refresh signage. Presumably that would now need to, parts of that would now need to be implemented relatively soon for the Seaford Barn parking and stuff like that, if it hasn't been thought of already. Because there was no mention of signage in all those papers that we just
in answer to the question, the signage is intended to be on the pipe pay and display machines. But I can't go into much more detail than that without verging into exempt item territory.
Councillor Markwell and Councillor Dunn, then Councillor Borman.
I'm going to page 23, the motion to carry out a survey in 2026 on Seaford Street Market and use the results to inform a decision on the issuing of street market licence for 2026. So I was just wondering what the development of that was, because I know that there was some form of survey that had been undertaken previously, and what the difference is in this survey and when it's likely to happen.
Thank you. In answer to that question through the chair, last summer ANF heard the debate that was brought forward about the street market for 2025 and ultimately agreed to approve a street market for 2025. But they proposed for officers to undertake another survey for 2026, and that will be in place before the ANF meeting that's coming up in due course to report back further into the year for 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is about 115 and the grounds management contract. Just a quick point in relation to contractors, some of which you're familiar with. We do, I was part of a discussion which made a lot of sense to me, which really, although there are, maybe what is important here is enforcement of the contracts. I think it's quite difficult. I'm looking at you over there. It's not to single you out or Peter, but it is about enforcement of the contracts, because we are obviously familiar with some of the contractors.
Do you want to take that, please?
Yes, I agree with you in that it's all about the enforcement. As you're aware, in previous years this was not our contract, and therefore we had no powers of enforcement over it. The fact that we now have those powers, and I can assure you that officers will be looking to enforce wherever it is.
Thank you.
Councillor Dunn and then Councillor Borman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. 1.12 at page 17, the Big Gardens project with the cycle track for pathway completed. It was brought to my attention today that it's got a key on at the end of the cycle path that goes onto the promenade. The Trickshaw people that want to use that cycle path now, because they've always come up Cricketfield Road and that's really, really dangerous. How would they obtain a key to be able to put the the bollard or the post down to be able to come through? Do they have to apply to the council?
So, sorry, could you just clarify?
You know the Cliff Gardens project, on the tarmac cycle path that comes out onto the seafront, onto the promenade, the wooden post has well, it's been changed, it's got a key now.
Okay.
So you can lay it flat.
Okay.
How does the Tritshaw people that will use that, Trishaw, is it pronounced? Trishaw. They want to use that, and a resident's brought to my attention that there is a key. How do they obtain the key to lay the...
I think we need to look into that, whether or not they should be using that, and then we can look into responding to them about that.
Could you do that? Because they've been coming up Cricketfield Road, and that's very dangerous for them.
Okay.
And they want to now they know that the cycle path, they want to come up this cycle path.
Sarah, are you aware of this request before now?
No. Do I need to email?
If you can email me,
Sylvia,
I'll try and understand the issue, because I've not heard of that before.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I'll email
Okay.
it in. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just with regards to the length of your report, mainly KPIs, obviously, once it's come on that something's been enacted or that it's been actioned and sorted, does it need to then keep being on one after the other? So the likes of the election of mayor, obviously, the next full council meeting, have it on there, but the one after that, we don't need it on because we know it's being actioned. And it would shrink it down quite a lot.
Through the chair, I'm happy to take on board that if other councillors agree that they don't want those that have already been completed to be repeated thereafter. Is that the general feedback?
No.
Okay, well, I can remove those going forward. We'll make the decision.
As we do that.
Yeah, it's really petty, but seeing as you asked to do that, I've been on about having a print policy for since probably day one, and you still haven't got one. But so, for example, on this table, there's 2 inches at the left-hand side of it. You could reduce the margins, top, bottom, left, right, and where things are repeated, like page 25. Personnel recommended the adoption of absence management policy. Instead of another line and another line and another line, you could just bullet point the things instead of having a row for each one. And then where it says elsewhere on the agenda, you could actually reference the agenda point. That was my own. Like I said, it's quite petty. But we did ask.
I think through the chair, in answer to the substantive question about the print policy, we mentioned before, we are proposing to come forward with a paper towards the end of 2026 in light of the election for the potential for us to move away from a paper agenda basis and to move towards a device basis, which is similar to what other councils do, and to move away from paper unless there's reasonable adjustment to why a councillor needs paper, and that would avoid this. The other thing I'd say is that before my time, Access Seaford were referred to in terms of making sure that our agenda was accessible and readable for those people who have difficulty, reading documents, people with English as a second language and others. And the recommendations of the formatting are that how we portray it. The more you squeeze words together, the more difficult that becomes for people who have learning difficulties or dyslexia or other things to actually be able to read it.
So has anybody ever come to you and said they can't read? It's just that you're using a lot of paper.
Well, no, because the reason that they don't is because we've done those things. If we could just shrink it, then they wouldn't.
Okay. Anyone else got any more questions or comments? Okay. Right, so we are being asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Horrow, Councillor Bristow as a seconder, those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? You're against?
No.
Oh, no, sorry.
It's a long day.
It's been a long day. Okay, you're not against. Okay. Any abstentions? No. Okay. And I'd just like to thank you for the detail and the hard work that's gone into that, not just writing it, but actually the work behind it. Okay, let's move on. Agenda item 11, complaints, freedom of information requests and appeals. Are you taking that, Chair?
I am.
Mark?
Thank you, Chair. So in the absence of Isabel, obviously I'll present this report. I would just add that since this report was written, the Council has received another formal complaint which was received 2 days ago, but obviously it was out of time for it to be raised on this paper, and it will come forward to next full Council detailed on the equivalent paper next time. But as far as the paper that you have here is concerned, I welcome any questions.
Anyone got any questions? I would say there has been a dramatic fall in the complaints, and I think I see that as a key performance indicator in its own right, that people are not complaining about our actions or our officers in the way that they've had, and therefore that means that people are spending less time dealing with complaints, and I think that is a sign of the success of our officers and our administration. So we're being asked to consider the updates and to move to a vote on the motions. So we're asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Buchanan and a second, Councillor Olivia Honeyman. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that's unanimous. Thank you. Move on. Right, we're getting into the money now. So agenda item 12 is the budget proposal, and this is to present the budget and the precept proposal for 26-27. Darryl.
Thank you, Chair. So first of all, thank you to all the committees for support and assistance in shaping the budget, and just want to point out for Lucy's assistance, our finance manager, in putting together the detail. To summarise, precept requirement is £1,283,802. This is a 2.24% increase on last year's Band D equivalent and represents a £2.87 increase per annum, or just under 5.6 pence per week. Okay, the budget now also shows the allocated use of SIL and general reserves, which has now been moved to earmark reserves of approximately 175,000 for strategy programme and other projects. I welcome any questions, queries anybody has.
Right, Councillor Sturton.
I would like to compliment everyone who was involved in this in really creative measures, including use of SIL money, slight reduction in our reserves in order to keep the rise in the precepts as low as they have done. And I know the leads that have gone to do this, and I'm pretty sure that there won't be many other town councils the size of Seaford that have managed this in this year. So on that note, really well done.
Yeah. Any further comments or questions? I think that they're a good set of papers. They're very explanatory, and I think that lack of queries, because my colleagues
lack of queries except for one.
Right, Councillor
Thank you. I'm just echoing Councillor Sturton's words there, but also to say that during the process you've made it so easy for us for this information to be accessible for us before we got to this point. So this is not new stuff. This is information that we've been discussing and hearing about and being able to contribute to in the last few months. And I personally really appreciated the time it's taken for officers to meet with us and discuss the budget and the processes behind it before we got to this point to approve it, which perhaps, like many of my colleagues, is why we're quite quiet tonight and very pleased about it, because we have been very well aware of it. So thank you.
Councillor Bristol.
Thank you. Just briefly, it's echoing Councillor Markman and Councillor Sturton, but particularly I felt I wanted to say as Chair of GOSCO and having a biggie in the grounds maintenance contract coming through our committee and some of the other stuff that's quite sizeable. Thank you very much for the process that we've gone through and the way we've been able to shape it, and I really commend officers in what I think is a really happy and hopefully a palatable medium for residents and return on the investment service. So thank you.
Anyone else? No? Councillor Luigi?
Thank you very much. Well, I thought I just have to ask a question, just to be a pain. I noticed the election earmark reserve is quite generous, but nothing has been added this year into the election EMR. And I just wondered, do we have enough to cover next year's election, or £34,000 enough?
That's a good question. So there's an allocation this year. We've increased the allocation for next year. Genuinely, I think on the indications being given on the GOS, I think we're probably close to it. We might be a little bit short of what we need.
Okay. I mean, I think Councillor Azaneezy are aware of the fact that if next year's election for the Town Council goes ahead with just us, we will be responsible with 100% of the cost. And that's not a normal situation. We normally share it with at least Lewis. It could be we share it with East Sussex or with Lewis. It might be that we don't share it with either, and if we have to pay 100%, we will have to put more money into the pot to pay for it all. But obviously we can't know that until nearer the time. There is of course the other possibility, because there is lobbying going on, that town and parishes are put in line with strategic mayor count elections, so that doesn't happen. Otherwise we're going to always be out of kilter with the other elections.
It is a big problem, yeah. Thank you for noting those. Any further questions or comments? Okay. I'm going to suggest, because we're being asked to make 3 recommendations, I'm going to suggest we take them all together. Is there anyone who disagrees with that? Are you happy to vote for them all together? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone disagree. So we're asked to note the contents of the report and associated attachments. We're asked to agree the budget proposal for 2026 and 2027, and we're asked to agree the preset request to Lewis Town District Council for 2026 and 2027 as £1,283,802. Can I have a proposer, please, for all 3? Councillor Horrow, thank you. Can I have a seconder for all 3 motions? Councillor Markwell. Those in favour? That's pretty unanimous, thank you. Anyone against that? Any abstentions? No, that's passed unanimously. Thank you. Right. Agenda item 13. This is about the Seaford lifeguards. So we're being asked to look at the proposal information set out in the report. We're asked to discuss about granting permission in principle for 2 containers on the Esplanade car park, and we're asked to move to vote on the recommendations. Peter?
Can I ask a question before the meeting, so if you want me to answer that and hand over to you?
Yeah.
So through the chair.
Town Clerk is going to answer a question that was put to him before the meeting.
Okay. So through the chair, there was a question from a councillor about how much the cost of the lifeguards beach hut cost. It was approved at Community Services Committee in December 2024 and then approved by full council in early 2025. The cost of the conversion of the lifeguard beach hut to allow it to have electricity and water cost £6,032. And since then we've suffered a loss of income from not being able to rent it out of £1,322.50. That was asked of me before the meeting, so I'll hand over to Peter if possible.
Thank you. Peter.
Well, it says, as per the paper, the majority of the content of this report comes directly from the lifeguards, but I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Colleagues, does anyone have any questions? So Councillor Dubar and then Councillor Dunn.
So I've had a lot of traffic on this one, and a lot of people talking to me about this one. And I just want to say, first of all, that I'm one of the volunteers here, and I've read 204 pages, and I've taken time to go through this and try to understand and digest everything and come up with an opinion. I've also read all the emails and talked to residents. So I think we all put a lot of work into this, and sometimes you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And the lifeguards are not the only ones that volunteer. There's lots of people in this town that volunteer. And yes, we do need lifeguards. I agree, and I want to support them where I can, but not at the expense of other residents. So what I'm being told is that they don't want to have reduced parking. They don't want ugly containers. They think that there's a threat to kids climbing on the things and then running the gauntlet across the huts, so potentially damaging the existing huts, and then that we're going to end up with that bill. So there's going to be damage on the roof. They've already said they're not going to be on the beach for 2026 because they haven't got agreement with the town council, but the town council's given them a hut at great expense. It's given them access to the rugby club. They've already got the boathouse. That provision's been in place for many, many, many years. So provision's been there. It's their choice not to run something for 2026. It's nothing to do with us. And I don't appreciate being threatened. If you don't give us permission to put beach huts on the gravel, then we're not going to be there to save your lives. And sorry, a bit trying to go through my notes. It used to be that we had a non-lifeguard person, I think it was a volunteer from them, who used to sit at the Martello beach hut, the one that was destroyed, and they had a radio, and if they saw something, they would radio the real lifeguards to come and help. And the real lifeguards would take the dinghy that was on the trailer out of the boathouse with the quad bike, move it onto the gravel outside the salts, and then they would drive to whichever area they needed to be from that central point. And there's no reason they can't do that now. So why they want an all singing, all dancing container with a fridge and a microwave and everything else, I'm not too sure. Yes, it would be convenient, it's nice to have, but we've already got a provision that's suitable. So I think that I've covered all my points. Oh, and the other thing is, if they want the board to be at the Martello, there's no reason why the quad bike can't drive it up on a morning, so they can set up here at the boathouse, drive the board to the other side and drive back again. And also my final point is the cleaner cupboard at the Martello is, we think, maybe 7 foot long, which would accommodate a board hooked onto the ceiling or something, maybe, if they had to have one in that area. I think that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Dunn and then Councillor Taylor, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. 3.2 says about this retaining the boathouse. The last time we spoke about this, there was an indication from Peter, I think he confirmed, that they was going to give the boathouse up. Now they want to retain it. Why do they suddenly want 2 containers and the boathouse, and they operate out of the rugby club? I can't work that one out. Secondly, there was the, sorry, it would be on page 59E, says followed by a licence to build, like, should all the above be achieved, the Town Council will propose to grant the lifeguards the 7-year list, followed by a licence to build on the area. That I don't quite understand. I don't know, does that mean the containers would be taken away and then they would start building a freestanding whatever? That was the other thing. To clarify on what Councillor Dubassa said, when they did have the beach out at the Martello, when I moved here in 2009, yes, they did have a lifeguard, but I won't say, they weren't a lifeguard in the fact they could save anybody, they were more like beach patrol. And they had didn't have an aerial, they had a walkie-talkie that radioed up to the source. They sat there and monitored that side. So again, it's a question of why do they need these 2 big containers. They say in their report that the response time by launching the powerboat would be reduced by the containers, but they've always kept, they never launch their powerboat from the boathouse. It's always on the beach. So whether it's on the beach outside the Salts or whether it be at the Martello, the launch time would be exactly the same, either up or down, because they've only got one powerboat and one buggy. My final question was, have you been down to the seafront recently and seen the salvage people? They've erected on our seafront a container. It's quite small. I think it's too small. And for me, it's overbearing and very ugly. And if you want to see what it would look like to approve this, go and have a look at that one that's on our beach at the moment, that is the salvage company's set up in relation to the storm. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Taylor and then Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm quite mixed about this situation. I am someone who's rented out a beach hut, one of our beach huts. I pay full price every year for when my grandchildren come and visit. This is a tricky seafront, and I do feel that we should support a lifeguard on the beach. That would be my kind of bottom line in a way. However, I'm not happy with some of the inconsistencies in the discussion in here. It doesn't, some of it doesn't gel, and I'm certainly not happy with the tone. I wanted to say in relation to the containers, and I haven't seen that one on the beach yet, but I'm sure I will soon, that, you know, South Downs National Park have now made installing containers a subject of planning permission, and that's because we're being inundated. I can see them now going down Bishopstone Road in some of the gardens, in the front gardens, containers. And I think, you know, they're not, sometimes they're entirely suitable, but not always. And I think we need to kind of watch this proliferation of containers that I'm concerned about. I want to say in relation to the beach that one of the difficulties our family had on the beach, and we're talking with other families on the beach, is this whole issue about dog fouling. And this is where it's not being enforced, where it's an area where dogs can't foul during that period of time, the summer period, but enforcement is light.
Sorry, what's dog fouling got to do with containers?
Well, no, it's not. I'm sorry, I'm moving on from containers to actually the experience on the beach. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's not related to the lifeguard. We just sort of, I'm aware of time.
Yeah, okay,
that's all. So
okay,
I think we just need to stay.
You're right. You're right.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Bristow?
Yeah, thanks. Sitting on the SALT stakeholders group and being a frequent beach user myself, both swimming and kayaking and everything else, and having done duathlon, the first one that was done here, and the triathlons where the lifeguards also help out to cover it, I know that they do a great job, and they have done over the years. However, in this report I would have liked to see a little bit more, such as have they sought any planning pre-application advice from LDC on the containers? Can they tell us a bit more about their volunteer numbers? I know that at the beginning of the meeting they stated that they're going to be working with a school, which is fantastic. I'd also like to see some statistics on their rescues and assists throughout Seaford Bay, and where the hotspots are, and where they patrol, and where the incidents are, how frequently they attend, all those kind of things, to actually be able to quantify the sort of need in the location. I don't know how much it would cost for them to put in electricity and water in the proposed location. It's quite far away from the Martello, but it's not just the cost, it's the digging up of either the highway or the promenade, which I don't think would necessarily be possible, the promenade of course being the town councils. I don't know whether they're affiliated to any national body for lifeguards. I used to spend a lot of time down in the West Country, and I'm familiar with the beaches down there and the kind of professional operations that they do, obviously here our lifeguards are voluntary and what they're kind of working towards. Do they have webcams, for example, in their sort of control centre where they're looking out at things? So these are kind of all things I would have liked to have seen to sort of quantify the benefits and the costs and so on. But specifically, I don't know if officers have any answers to those queries, but specifically on the location, it's in my ward, and I've already had a couple of people, one only this morning, say, oh, really not sure about this, it's displacing parking where there's already less parking than there was at the end of Splash Point, and of course Gardens is no longer parkable. I wonder whether it's the best place for the lifeguards, because I don't have that data to see where they mostly do their rescues and assists. I know that anecdotally Splash Point is a more dangerous end because that's where the current tends to take you. But nevertheless, I would be uncomfortable with granting a 7-year lease for this site. I note that in the address at the beginning they stated that they would also be happy with being sited on, I think, what we've been referring to as the gravel strip west of the Martello Tower where the compostable toilets were, which to my mind, at least in the short term, seems like a much better location and also would prevent more of the motorhomes and camping and associated problems which we've spoken about at length, and I know the residents immediately there are very concerned about. And I do wonder if in the future there would be a better place yet, perhaps even where we have the ice cream van concession or somewhere like that that's more central, there's more space and so on. So I'm not particularly happy to approve this for 7 years. I would actually go so far as to suggest, I don't know whether this would be considered a rejection, officers and chair, or whether an amendment to suggest the location of the gravel strip west of the Martello be looked at rather than the Esplanade car park in recommendation 2. So yeah, that's open.
Councillor Bristow, in answer to some of those questions, I think I'll start off by saying obviously our report doesn't make a recommendation. It's a covering report of the report provided by the lifeguards. The reason that this has been brought forward as soon as it has is because the lifeguards are very keen to secure the containers from Brighton Hove, and I believe that they have portrayed to Peter that if they don't get a decision soon, then they're going to lose the opportunity to get them. In terms of the electricity and water supply, it cost us £6,032 to provide electricity and water from the Martello, the Changing Places toilet, to Beach Hut 60, and it's next door. So that gives you an indication of how much it's going to cost to get electricity and water from a point to where this is.
Thank you.
I think that answers the questions I can answer.
Can we just answer the question about the planning permission, because planning permission is
it does say in the paper that they
is included in the paper, saying that it is required and that they are prepared to pay for it. So I think that is covered.
Yeah. Sorry, can I just very quickly come back? I was.
Sorry.
It's to do with planning.
No, I'm sorry. We do need to move on to other people. Councillor Dubar and then Councillor Honeyman. Yeah.
Honeyman Dubar.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Honeyman. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair. I do feel, regardless of all the technical stuff and nitty-gritty stuff, and we need lifeguards for Seaford. So I just feel we need to find a way to ensure that Seaford, which is a very beach, which is a very, very long stretch, and we all know how busy it gets in the summer now, to not have lifeguards on the beach just seems completely wrong. So I just feel we need to find a way forward that we can actually help the lifeguards to do what they need to do and be there. When we had Pete William came and spoke to us, I think in the first year of the new administration, about the fact lack of volunteers and need support. But I do feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have lifeguards on our Seaford beach. So I just feel we need to find a way forward to ensure that we have
Thank you, Councillor Hone. Councillor Dubas?
Yes, did you answer the question that Councillor Dunn raised about the, sorry, I can't remember what number it was, about them building on that site?
Build on the area, and why they still need to retain the boathouse. That was the 2 questions.
I don't remember you answering.
I'm happy to answer that.
Yes, sorry, can I ask the other question as well? Because the other question I've got is, I know you've suggested using the compost area, but that is subject to Seaford's parking review, so I don't think we can agree anything until the parking review has been completed, because one of the suggestions I've sent in and that I've received is that we tarmac that and extend the road.
That's a good idea.
So that's 2 questions. Are you happy to take both of them?
Yeah, I think so. Firstly, on the boathouse, so they argued that they have too much equipment for just the boathouse, so they need the boathouse and the containers to have enough space for the equipment. So that was, I asked them exactly that question, and that's what they told me. In terms of the licence to build, so the lease we would give is basically saying you are entitled to that section of land, and you are leasing that piece of land. We then give them another permission. The licence to build is to put the container on the land.
Oh, I see.
That's
the way it comes of, sorry.
It is a strange word.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to build it.
Specifically on the gravel strip, my understanding is that's not part of the review because that is private land, and the parking review is to deal with highways, not private land, and that's what is
Thank you.
A quick query related to the planning. Would they need county council or highways permission? It's Esplanade car park, but it's considered a road up the middle, am I correct? I don't know whether that would be needed.
We can seek advice on that and advise them. I'm not aware of that because it's our private land, but we can certainly find out. I mean, in reality, it should be for the lifeguards to find out if they're provided approval.
Right, Councillor Markwell.
Thank you. I realise this is quite a mixed debate, and I echo Councillor Olivia Honeyman's words about needing lifeguards. I think it is clear that increasing tourism on the beach, we need lifeguards. This has been quite a long story with the lifeguards. I've been quite involved in some respects, I know them all. And I think they are trying really, really hard to sort out their lifeguards and make sure they have training and that they get their volunteers. I feel that I want them to know that they have our support for that, and that's a very clear message we should be sending them. I feel slightly that the container issue has slightly undermined that in some respects, because we're debating 2 containers going somewhere, but we're not debating whether we need lifeguards or not. I think that's a given. I don't think we've ever stated that we don't need lifeguards, and I think we 100% think that we do. Sorry to speak for you all. But I do feel that the debate on the containers, which yes have been offered free but will still cost them to remove from Brighton and Hove, who are presumably very happy to give them away for whatever reason, to come to us, we do need to think of quite carefully, and deciding which end of the beach to put them might also make a difference to the cost for the electricity and the water, because in some respects, if you go to the area that has been questioned for the parking review, but that is near the Martello Museum, so the electricity and water is there, so it wouldn't be so far from there. But if you go all the way down to Splash Point, where they are possibly based at the moment, there is nothing there. So the cost to them could be a lot more. So I think we need to think about what's best for them. So my query is whether we have enough information, and I also would like to thank thank councillors requesting really some more information about where the risk points are and how many people have been rescued and what their daily or weekend needs are. I don't think we've ever had a real picture of that. I know that there have been desperately sad suicides at the cliff, but they haven't been involved in any of that. This is about what Councillor Bristow was raising very articulately and more than I can about a review, and I do think we do need something like that, and that's not to say we don't agree that we don't need them. It's more to say well, if that is the case and that is your viewpoint, that helps us to think where placing them is most helpful, because we are talking 7 years. We're not talking about a temporary construct for a year and then moving it, because moving these things costs a lot of money and would do for them. So I think if we are going to make a decision one way or the other, it may be that it's something that we just need more information about before we can make that decision. I think it's unfortunate that the containers are under a deadline, perhaps, from Brighton and Hove, but maybe there's some negotiation there, council to council, I don't know.
But it was a new one.
That's what I've got to say.
Councillor Warren. You don't need to stand up, don't worry. Quite happy, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I mean, our seafront doesn't just run from Splash Point to Edinburgh Road.
No.
We've got all the western end part of the seafront, and that's where the fatalities have been. Not recently, but in past years, that's where the fatalities have been, on the western end of the seafront towards the sailing club. I do worry about the look of sea containers on the seafront, because we have got a nice picturesque panoramic bay, and I mean, do they have to be by the beach huts at Splash Point, or can they come further up to the western end of the seafront near the sailing club? Because there is a big bay and it'd be more central. And, you know, would they fit in better, you know, up the western end?
So they're certainly asking a lot of questions that aren't addressed in this paper.
I would, as I said, I'm Vice President, which is only an honorary role, but I would hate to see the lifeguards finish in Seaford, because they have done a fantastic job over the years, and it was the COVID which, you know, killed their membership, because the youngsters who are lifeguards are trained up, but they're probably only there for about 2 or 3 years, and then they're out to work, and then the new lot's got to come along and be trained. It is a very difficult job for the management of the Seaford lifeguards to continue. But our Seaford lifeguards were the best in the country. They were on the flood watch, and they were recognised all over the country prior to COVID. So it'd be lovely to get them back into that position again and have our support, which I'm sure most of us do support them. It's just the word sea container.
Councillor Sturton.
So, I mean, if I was to try and sort of articulate what I take to be the mood of the meeting, and I should say that, and I'm sure this is not a unanimous view, but I see the views emerging that we want to support the lifeguards, we want, maybe with some dissent, even to find a way of getting them the containers, since they seem to identify that as their need. We seem to be, if anything, against the specific proposal for the Esplanade car park. I suppose my questions to officers is, you know, if that is the mood of the meeting, if I turn out to be right on that, how do we proceed with a decision in principle, which might be something like either to allow or not to allow the containers, but if we allow them but to seek a different site, is that something that we can delegate a power to officers to enter urgent and swift negotiations over Councillor Walraven's suggestion of over towards Bonningstead End or whatever?
Just 1 minute, yeah. But can you answer to that?
I'm going to try.
Thank you.
I don't know is the answer, because I don't know if we said to the lifeguards that we authorise you to put them somewhere, but in an undefined place. it might be the case that they are only willing for them to be put in either the gravel strip or at Splash Point. We haven't really explored saying to them, you can have them, but you've got to put them at bond instead, have we?
No, the meetings I had with them, there was definitely a strong steer that these were the options, and there weren't any other options. But we didn't specifically discuss Bonstead.
So I think the problem would be if we said yes, you can get them, and then they got them, and then they weren't willing to put them anywhere else, we're going to end up with them having to be there because that's the only place they consider that they're suitable.
Sounds rather one-sided to me. Did you have another question?
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to item 2 in line with Councillor Walraven to say to approve Seaford lifeguards for the eastern area within Bonningstead as set out within the report for a period of X years, if that's the number you want, subject to cladding being applied in line with, and then you've already got Skipper Jack's thing there, haven't you? The coffee shack. So it could be next to that and cladded the same way. Sports, yeah. So if we, if people thought Bonningstead was a good idea, and given Linda's knowledge of that area being the area of need where fatalities have been, I would be happy to support it. And like Councillor Markwell said, it's not that we don't want lifeguards. My residents don't want the container next to the huts and removing parking.
If you captured that amendment. Can you clarify the number of years in your amendment?
I don't know.
Are you proposing it should stay as 7?
I wrote 3 down, but I have no idea on that number, so I would be happy to be led by other suggestions.
To clarify, the lifeguards wanted this in perpetuity. We limited it to 7 years because of various different legislation, which means that stamp duty and other things is payable once you go over a certain point. But that doesn't mean it has to be 7.
I mean, well, we want that provision, don't we? So, I don't know, is 7 years okay?
So,
if you're saying it is, I'm happy with that.
It's obviously up to councillors, but it sounds like your proposal is to approve Seaford lifeguards be leased an area within Bonningstead as set out within the report for a period of 7. I mean, it doesn't make sense to say as set out within the report.
It's not in the report, is it?
Okay, so to approve Seaford lifeguards to release an area within Bonningstead for their containers for a period of 7 years.
Yeah, and can it just be 1 container, not 2? Because they have said they would accept. Sorry, they have said they will accept 1 container.
Okay, can you clarify what your proposed amendment is?
Yeah, so to approve, there be leased an area within Bonningstead as set out within the report for 1 container for a period of 7 years.
Okay, I'm going to clarify. It doesn't make sense to say as set out within the report, so I'm going to propose that your amendment says to approve Seaford lifeguards to be leased an area within Bonningstead for 1 container for a period of 7 years.
Please. With cladding.
Right, shall we take a vote on that amendment now? Or do you want to finish off, do you have further conversations about
Right. And then we can still debate it, but then we come back to it.
Okay, so we're going to have a vote on whether that is approved.
Can I just add one very quick thing? This would require EA approval as well, so this would also be subject to EA approval if I was an agency.
And we haven't had any plans to look at how can we vote on it.
And we also need the beach, that thing, beach, what's it called?
No, not them, just EA.
Just EA.
Yeah.
Can I know I've
Yeah.
spoken already.
Yes, Councillor Taylor. Is it relevant to what we're talking about, the amendment?
Absolutely. I'm very familiar with that end of the beach. I would urge some consultation with current concessions down there. I mean, the shack, the beach shack, what's it called? Skippers.
Yeah.
Who run a hut there. There is the sauna. There's quite a lot going on there down there. Yoga. Pardon? Yoga. Yes. and it's not reasons not to place things there, but I think I would suggest we might alienate the folk who run different kinds of concessions along the end of the beach if we don't at least consult them first. Could we do that?
Yes, we have to take that into consideration, but we can't add it to this because what is going to be the result of any consultation? It's open-ended and the timescale's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you have? You did have
I wanted to come back
comment?
because I just want, you know, if the containers go where the lifeguards suggested, it might not get planning approval, and I wondered if they've hinted to the officers if there's a plan B. No.
No. They have said, I think within the paper, they basically said if they don't get this container, then they intend to leave.
They'll never leave.
Yes, okay.
Through the chair, it's just been highlighted that A&F committee were relatively recently requested by the sauna to have a bigger container at Bonningster. And we went through a big process to approve that or not to approve that, and obviously putting a container down Bonningster for this might lead to them requesting that their container should be enlarged or whatever.
Okay, Councillor Honeyman and then Councillor Bristow.
Mine was just more of a practical point that maybe the reason the lifeguards would like the huts where they're proposing, because that's where the toilet facilities are. In Bonningster, there's lack of complete toilet facilities there, so possibly that's why they're suggesting that's where they'd like to propose it.
Councillor Bristow.
Yeah, just quickly, it sounds like there's a range of views and a range of questions on this. My understanding from officers is that this didn't come in the usual way to Gosford before from councils because of the timescales. However, if it really is such a cliff edge for the lifeguards, and we as a council, my feeling is that we want to support them, it's just getting it right and getting the detail and balancing the stakeholders' needs, that actually we push back a bit and say, let's discuss things more, let's think a little bit outside the box, perhaps bring a paper to Goscott on the 5th of March and then put it forward after that. Now what happens with these particular containers I don't know, but there are other containers in the world apart from these as well. And yes, it wouldn't be quite as convenient as the ones they've already been offered, but if we're thinking about the long term, perhaps we better get this right together rather than rush something.
So am I right in thinking you're saying that we do not approve?
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying if it's not approved, perhaps it could come to Goscott in the usual way and we could take a more longer term view.
Councillor Honeyman and then Councillor Duval, and then I'm going to wrap this up.
Councillor Berman.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, thank you. All right, Councillor Honeyman, then Councillor Borman.
No.
Councillor Borman. Yeah, Councillor Borman, and then I'm going to wrap this up because we are 10:15 and we're halfway through the agenda at the moment.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's taken me 2 hours 40 minutes or so before I actually spoken tonight, which is quite Right, let's go back to what we're talking about. Have City Council, they pay their lifeguards, I believe.
No. Yes, they do.
Yeah, via group, but they are paid, aren't they? Seaford's all voluntary.
Oh yeah.
These containers are being converted in for the right use as well. So we can't say we don't have these, they can get them somewhere else. These are basically quite an expensive gift. I don't know how much they would cost, and they're converted as well. I don't know if there's a possibility they can be split into 2 sites. I wouldn't just have one coming. If you've got an offer for 2, take 2. Can these be split, for example? They don't have to be all in one location. One could go one end of the Seaford, one could go to the other. You've still got bits of the salts. Is that something else which has been talked about? I don't know. But I don't know if that sort of makes sense when it does in my eyes, because it's a long enough seafront to do that. So I like Councillor Walraven and a lot of the others here who know been around this town a long time. I think I'd be very if we turn it down and they move out of town, I basically couldn't vote for not accepting it, basically. So thank you very much.
Councillor Warren?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Always support the lifeguards, and yes, we should continue supporting the lifeguards. But there are a few things. Obviously, they lost their cupboard when we moved that. We offered them the beach hut, and now that's supposedly not big enough. But they want 2 containers? I just think it's a lot. And they want it on a peppercorn rent, which, according to the report from them, is 0. That they're already getting other facilities for nothing. We do have to look at other voluntary organisations that we support and what we're charging them, and balance that out as well. But my biggest concern with these containers is the fact that they said that they're basically going to be a big advertising board for them. So on page 62, part 10 says that they will put in a board on the uprights at the rear to explain who sponsored and supported them with their websites and their contact information. Big advertising billboard on the seafront. We don't want that. So if this is agreed, I don't want any advertising on it because it could be too big for our seafront.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up because we're getting... Sorry, is there someone else?
Just to say we haven't voted on Steph's amendment yet in terms of whether or not we want to amend.
Yes, I was going to note the contents and then vote on that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm, because we have 10 minutes.
Point of order,
yeah.
Very quickly. Is it worth putting an amendment in following Councillor Bowman's comment saying no advertising board should be erected on the...
I was going to suggest that in my amendment as well, so absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. I think what we should do is we will vote on recommendation 1, and then we will vote on the amendment, and then we vote to clarify the amendment, and then we'll vote on the amendment. Is that okay? Yeah? Right, so we're being asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Markwell, a seconder for that. Just noting the report. Councillor Walraven. Those in favour of noting the contents of the report? Thank you. Anyone against? Councillor Bristow. Any abstentions? Yes. Right, that is passed. So, we are... The amendment, could we clarify the amendment, please, and then we can vote on that?
Yeah, so I think I've captured Councillor de Bass and Councillor Borman kind of do amendments together. So instead of motion 2, or motion 2 is amended to say to approve Seaford lifeguards to be leased an area within Bonningstead for 1 container for a period of 7 years, subject to the container being cladded and no advertising boards being displayed.
Perfect.
Yep, thank you. Can I have a proposer for that? Councillor Dubar. Can I have a seconder, please, for that? Councillor Dunn. Those in favour of the amendment?
Right, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think.
Anyone against that amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. So that amendment is defeated. Any abstentions? 1. Yeah, okay. So that amendment...
Sorry, point of order, was it 7-7?
No.
No, 6-7.
Oh,
okay, so what we said?
So that, the amendment is rejected,
yes.
So we go back to the original.
Can we vote again?
That was 7-7 and you get sorry, Madam
Point of order.
It was not equally split.
Is it?
It was 6 in favour and 7 against.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's
yeah.
only
So that's why my casting vote is not required.
Sorry.
So it is the amendment is rejected. So what do we do now?
Go back to the original recommendation 2.
Well, I would like to propose another amendment.
Oh no.
Last doors though.
Yes, Councillor Sterling.
Esplanade car park or gravel strip.
One or the other.
No. Okay, I'll propose another amendment then.
No, we have to do one at a time.
Yes. No.
Okay. So do we want to vote on that amendment to approve Seaford lifeguards be leased an area within Esplanade car park or the gravel strip to the west of Martello, just to be clear, for a period of 7 years? Is that what you are suggesting?
Can you fit 2 containers in a house?
To clarify, you're saying 1 container or 2 containers, and the only amendment to your...
Well, I would say 1 container then.
Okay.
With no advertising.
With no advertising.
So it's leased an area within Esplanade or the gravel strip to the west. 1 container.
We're delegating to officers the position to negotiate.
Okay. All right. Can I have? So you are proposing that amendment?
Do you want to have clarification on the wording before you vote on it? Georgia, could you explain the wording of that before we vote?
Okay, so we've got to approve Seaford lifeguards be leased an area within Esplanade car park or the gravel strip to the west of Martello Tower for 1 container for a period of 7 years.
Do you want to add with no cladding and with cladding and with no advertising? Or?
With no advertising.
With
no advertising. Okay, and cladding? So it's about the advertising, no advertising, but no comment about cladding. Okay. You're proposing?
Yes.
Can I have a seconder for that amendment? No. Oh. You're second. Okay. Those in favour of that amendment? 2 people, 3 people. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4.
5 against.
6
against.
6 against and abstentions. 1, 2, 4, 5.
So that's not carried.
So that's not carried.
So we go back to the original recommendations.
So I think we have to go back to what is written down. We seem to be going around in circles, and we are nearly out of time here. So, to approve Seaford lifeguards be leased an area within Esplanade car park as set out in the report for a period of 7 years. Do I have?
I think you should explain, if that's not passed, then you can move to the second one, which is to reject Seaford lifeguards being released.
So the first one is to approve to approve Seaford lifeguards be leased to an area within the Esplanade car park as set out in the report for a period of 7 years. Do I have a proposer for that? No.
Can't even be proposed.
Right, so let's go back to...
Sorry, Richard, did you approve it?
Yeah, I'll approve it, yeah.
Propose it?
You'll propose
Yeah.
it. Do we have a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Councillor Olivia Honeyman.
Yeah.
Could you read it out again?
So this is to reject, yes. This is to reject. Sorry. We're to approve Seaford lifeguards be leased an area within Esplanade car park as set out in the report for a period of 7 years.
It's been
And the proposed and seconded.
Can we have a recorded vote, please?
Do we have a recording? Yes.
I don't have the sheet, do I?
She's going to get it out. Yeah.
No, can I withdraw that?
Cut the sheet out.
Okay. Do we have a second one? Okay.
We draw it anyway.
This is my thing.
Sorry, we've withdrawn it.
No,
I'm losing the plot.
The recorded vote.
So we are just voting, we're not having a recorded vote. Okay. So we have a proposer, we have a seconder. Those in favour of approving Seaford lifeguards to be leased an area within Esplanade car park as set out in the report for a period of 7 years. 1, 2,
Three.
3.
No, four.
4. Those against that proposal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abstentions? 1, 2, 3.
5.
5. So that is not passed.
So now you move on to reject.
So we know how to go to it being rejected. So the next proposal is to reject Seaford Lifeguards be leased an area within Esplanade Car Park as set out in the report for a period of 7 years.
And I would like to amend that proposal, please, that recommendation.
In what way?
To include afterwards saying that the council in there would like to find a way to support the lifeguards and are keen to continue to find a suitable spot and increase the area of search through the bay, or words to that effect, something shorter than that.
It's not really a resolution, that's more of a narrative. But would you rather it said for it to be referred back to Gosford?
Referred back, yes I would, that's exactly what
Thank you. So we are to reject Seaford Lifeguards be leased to an area within Esplanade Car Park as set out in the report for a period of 7 years, and for the discussion to be referred back to the Golf and Open Spaces and Climate Action Group.
It didn't come from
Committee.
Gosford, so for it to be referred to Gosford for further debate.
Yes, thank you.
Further debate. Okay.
Why Goscar, why not assets?
It's not our asset.
It's an open space, it is
With the
Gosford.
beach
Sorry, we're going to
provision.
need to extend standing orders if we're not going to
Yeah,
vote on
okay.
it.
Can we have a vote, please? Are you happy to propose that? Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Taylor. Those in favour of rejection and referral back to Goscar?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9.
Right. Those against? 1,
2.
2. Abstentions? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that has been carried.
Yeah. We need to suspend standing orders.
Okay, all right. It is now 10 o'clock, so I am going to suggest that we suspend standing orders and extend the meeting past 10 o'clock as we have gone over the three-hour rule. I am proposing that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Dunn. Those in favour of continuing the meeting? Brave souls, brave souls. Thank you. Anybody against that proposal? Councillor Dubar. Any abstentions? Thank you. So we are carrying on the meeting after 10 o'clock.
Because recommendation 2 was rejected,
Yeah.
we don't need to do
We don't need to do
recommendations 3, 4, or 5.
Right, yes. That's just to confirm that because we have rejected recommendation 2, we are not going to proceed to 3, 4 or 5 because they are subject to being approved, if that makes sense. Okay, thank you very much. Would you intend to stay longer, or would you like to leave?
We're only interested in the next item.
Oh right. No! Thank you. We salute your
experience of being here.
your resilience. Thank you.
Excuse me, Maddie.
Do we?
Is it possible that after we do the crouch item, we
Yeah.
can do the exempt papers? Because I've got to go, and I want to have a vote on exempt.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Do we want to have a break now, or do we want to?
Can we do that?
Yeah.
No, we need to do this item.
Yes. Okay. Right. Right. So the next item is the review of the Crouch Bowling Club fees, item 14. Right, so this is to approve the change in hire fees paid by the Crouch Bowling Club for use of the Crouch Bowling Green, and this is related to the grounds management and the effect on the turf maintenance. So I shall hand over to you, Peter.
Thank you. So in bringing this paper, we've had meetings with the Bowls Club. Both parties have worked hard to find a way of operating that minimises the cost to the Town Council whilst ensuring the long-term financial sustainability of the Bowls Club. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Brister.
It's great that you're still here, and I know how popular the bowling club is, and indeed my neighbour plays with you, for you as well, which is great. My concern is precedent setting. We had another club look after their turf, their grass. It didn't go very well, and it was a tricky time for the council. Each club is different, and clubs have been going for a long time. But I just wonder, given the need for this different quality of fine turf, it sounds from the report that the bowling club are contracting that out. Why are we as a council not contracting that out separately to the grounds maintenance contract, which for reasons I understand it wasn't included in? I'm just wondering whether that arrangement would be more consistent with input from the bowling club in terms of specifications required and so on, rather than actually letting essentially a tenant lease it out. But then we've still got this inconsistency whereby theoretically the bowling green is available for public hire. It to me muddies waters again, unfortunately, but I understand the desire for improving that quality, and I'm just wondering why we haven't approached it in that way.
So, one thing we have discussed with the bowling club is that we would speak to our grounds maintenance contractor and get a quote from them, and to work with the bowling club if that could secure a better price for them, and we will look at that. The other thing we're doing is putting an MOU in place as well, which will include kind of the pesticides and things and the standards of which it would need to be maintained. Obviously, the primary users by far, more so than any other pitch or area, is the bowling club, and therefore it is within their interest to maintain that standard, and we will have that agreement in place around pesticides and things like that.
Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yeah, if I could just come back. So, enforcement-wise, who would be enforcing that contract?
Well, because it would be their contract, it would be for them to enforce. But obviously, as through the memorandum of understanding, if they were to breach that.
Yeah, it's not legally binding. Though.
It's not.
Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. Picking up on what Councillor Briscoe said on 2.2. My concern is that by handing over, we lose control of the maintenance irrespective of the MOU, a bit like what Councillor Briscoe was saying, you know, there's no enforceability with the MOU. It goes on to say about the bowling green will remain available for public hire. Who would receive the money from the public hire? Would that come back to the council? Would that go to the bowling club? Would it not be cheaper for us to maintain ourselves if we had a separate contract for that rather than dropping our fees with the bowling club? And 2.4 says that the town council will retain responsibility for the concrete gullies and the irrigation system. Is that not built into already the grounds maintenance? And just finding that if this does go ahead, that we regularly keep a review on the yearly basis as their income from the hire will increase along with their membership. Thank you.
You take those questions, do you remember them?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to think about that. So specifically on the concrete gullies and the irrigation, so they're not in the grounds maintenance contract because they are ground maintenance, they remain our asset, so like any other of our asset, if it were to break, then we would be liable to repair that. Okay. Sorry.
The fees for the public hire?
The fees for the public hire, my suggestion is that is handled by the Bowls Club and that they keep that income, because they are taking on the responsibility of that maintenance, is also a fairly minor income, and therefore it seems overly onerous for us to take on the management of that.
And is it not cheaper for us to have done it?
No.
Could you, yeah.
Further
questions,
that was my last question.
That's fair. No, it isn't. So this represents about an £8,500 reduction in the fees but we've saved about 12,000 plus by not having a fund.
One last question, Councillor Bristol.
That arrangement, and this is nothing personal, but I'm trying to approach this from a viewpoint of consistency across all our open spaces, which is why I keep banging on about a proper management framework and a management policy that's consistent, because I don't know that, and I'm not sure that that would even be permissible in the lease, that effectively it would be subletting and charging. So I am currently very much in the dark about whether this arrangement would actually be
the lease is the clubhouse, not the green.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, how can someone who doesn't have a tenure over land effectively sublet it to someone else and keep the money? I'm sorry, but without having anything personal to Bowling Club, I think this is completely the wrong way to go, because otherwise other clubs will be asking for the same and we will end up in a big mess again. I think this needs to be looked at afresh. And we also don't want a third-party arrangement. We've had a third-party arrangement for an aspect of grounds maintenance which we didn't have that closeness and enforceability. We would effectively be doing the same thing and actually buy one of our tenants, which I think is probably unfair on the tenant as well, to expect them to enforce that contract. Yeah, I'm not in favour, I'm sorry.
Do you have anything else to add, Peter?
So I think myself and the Bowls Club, I think I would be right in saying that we're happy to have a discussion around the public hire and who would manage that, and we can take that away as a separate action to discuss the details of that and maybe bring that back to Goscombe might be the best way forward.
Okay. All right, I'm going to bring this to a close, bearing in mind the time. So, first of all, we're being asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Horrow, seconder. Councillor Walraven, those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, so that's been passed unanimously. And we're being asked to approve the revised Crouch Bowling Club hire fees for the Crouch Bowling Green due to the club taking on their own fine turf maintenance responsibilities. Can I have a proposer for that? Councillor Horrow. Seconder, Councillor Olivia Honeyman. Those in favour?
Hold your hands, keep your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8. 8. No, 4 there. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, 8.
8.
Right. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Yep.
And any abstentions? 2. Right, okay, that's passed. Yeah, okay, thank you. Do members of the public want to leave now? So I'm going to suggest a 5-minute break while officers escort members of the public. Thank you for your attendance. And then I'm going to go to the exempt item because that's been the request. Councillor Horrow.
He's gone.
He's gone, has he? Okay, so we're now going to move to item 26, which is the exempt item, so we are not recording this. And I need to propose that we go into exempt session out of order of the agenda, but we moved to the second exempt item. And I have a proposal for moving to the exempt. Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. Can I have a second, please, to move to exempt to reorder? Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Those in favour of having the exempt session now? Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? Thank you. It's passed. Fine. Okay. So now we're going back to item 15. which is about the interim climate action plan. Which is
on page 69.
Right, okay. So it's the first bundle, it's the back of the first bundle. Have you got the list of the councillors who've left? Yeah, okay. So, agenda item 15, page 69, adoption of the interim climate action plan. Peter.
So this interim plan is designed to lay the groundwork so that we can develop a longer term climate action plan that is fully informed and led by data. I welcome any questions.
Any questions, comments? If not, I'll just lead to
I propose the
two
recommendations.
Okay, so you're proposing, shall I take them together? Are you happy to have 1 and 2 together? They're fairly comprehensive, aren't they? So a proposer for noting the contents of the report and adopting the interim climate action plan January 2026 to August 2026 as recommended by GOSCA. Proposed by Councillor Bristow, seconded by Councillor Buchanan. Those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? So we've passed that. Thank you. So we've finished that first bundle, believe it or not. Right. Moving swiftly on, because I want to finish this by 11 o'clock. This is the interim internal audit report. So this is from the new internal auditors. We don't have Lucy Clark with us. Is there anything else that you want to add, Darryl?
No, just to say that the Appendix B shows the audit, and then Appendix C shows the actions of the officer's commentary. And if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to help out with any responses.
Sorry.
Yes, Councillor Dunn.
Sorry. In my years as this is a positive. In my years as a councillor, and I have seen many internal audit reports, can I please hats off to the new external auditor, to you Darryl, to Lucy and the finance team on page 86 to list out the assertions. Now I understand all about that and the practitioner's guide. If you get a chance as councillors, it's a long document, sometimes it's worth reading because it really does give you an insight into what our officers have to do. So can I just recommend the officers on that page, that it's been added to the internal report by the internal auditors. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes.
That's all.
Okay. Any further comments, questions before we move to a vote? Right, so I'm going to again take them together to note the findings and recommendations of the internal auditor's report and to note the actions taken by officers. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Honeyman, and seconded Councillor Lord. Those in favour? That looks pretty unanimous. Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's unanimous. Right. Moving on to the next one.
96.
Yeah. Agenda item 17, this is the continuation of the committee structure trial. So this is just reminding us that this was a pilot to change and rebalance the committees. I think it's been a great success, but we need to decide its future. So Clark, over to you.
Indeed, thank you, Chair. I mean, obviously, as the Chair said, we told you it was a trial in the first place. The paper proposes that we continue the trial for another year, and I'd welcome any questions.
Sorry, I don't need to be a pain. On page 97, the appeals committee, it seems to be sort of standing alone. Is it not actually linked to grievance? Does it not a link off of that?
No.
No, it does actually stand on its own. It's a subcommittee, isn't it?
It's a committee which is only
called upon,
constituted when there's a need for an appeal to be heard.
Yeah, lovely.
But it does stand away from the grievance and discipline.
It does. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? I would just like to congratulate the town clerk for his vision. He formulated this when he'd been in the job a matter of weeks or a couple of months, and to have that vision and experience and confidence to suggest this to us, and for it to be the resounding success that it has been, I'd like to personally congratulate you. Because you know, it's a sign of the strength of your experience and leadership, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to suggest is that we take the two together to note the contents of the report and to extend the trial of the revive. Sorry, are you?
Yeah, sorry, I
have a comment?
one query about the committee responsibilities, and that I think Peter, credit to you, you initially flagged this, but particularly with the emails that have been going around with the Heritage Coast visitor stuff, tourism and sort of strategic tourism. How do you envisage that coming to committees and full council?
I think it needs some more thought. I think the LGR is going to have a bearing on it. At the moment, the competence for cultural tourism sits with the county council, and for bucket and spade tourism sits with the district council. So we don't actually have a competence around tourism. I think going forward, when we have LGR, we're going to have a debate about whether or not bucket and spade tourism comes to a town council, and whether it sits with East Sussex or where it goes. But at the moment, I don't think we've actually come to any conclusions on that. If that answers your question.
It does, yeah, just as long as we keep it higher on the agenda.
Yeah. Sure,
Which agenda, I'm not sure.
We will continue to act as a key stakeholder to try and keep the impetus going on the district and the county council on the importance of tourism to Seaford, and how we can play into that. We will, but it's not a competence that sits with the town council.
Okay. Alright, are we happy to take the two recommendations together? Noting the contents of the report and extending the trial into the next municipal year. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Markwell, a seconder, please. Councillor Buchanan. All those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's passed unanimous. Right. Okay. Proposed meeting time. This is for the proposed meeting timetable from May 2026 onwards, and to vote on the proposals. Have you got anything else to say, Georgia, because you're proposing this, aren't you?
All I'd add, obviously, just take the report as read. I won't go back through all of that detail, but just to note that we have suggested changing the date of the 2026 AGM. So it was previously down as the 14th of May. We're now suggesting the 5th of May to bring it ahead of what would potentially have been an election date.
Can I add to that, Chair?
Yes, please.
There have then been subsequent suggestions that because of East Sussex's election being cancelled, that the annual meeting could sit on the 7th of May. Because the 5th of May is the day after a bank holiday. So the first date on that schedule there on page 104, which says the 5th of May, there are proposals that the 7th of May, which is a Thursday, which is our normal day of meeting, might be more suitable.
Does anybody? I think that's probably
It's a good idea.
Yes. Okay. So we need an amendment, or are we just happy to take that as read? Okay. So the AGM is going to be Thursday the 7th, because we know that this is not an election day, and it does mean it's a little bit easier because the day after bank holiday can be difficult for people returning to work, etc. So that given, again, I'll take the two together as our final motion, so that we're asking to approve the 2026-2027 meetings timetable, subject to the discussion we've just had. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Markwell, a seconder. Councillor Dunn. Those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? No. Fine, we'll pass that. Are you happy? I'm going to call the meeting to a close.
Excuse me, Chair, can we just take into consideration item 24 regarding councillor...
Oh, yes, yes,
Your
absolutely. Thank you very much for reminding me. This is just to mention that we were going to vote to support the continuation of Councillor Walraven in her sick leave, but I'm delighted to suggest that we strike this from the agenda because we have our much respected councillor colleague. We are delighted to see her back. Her absence has been noted.
Thank you everyone for your best wishes and get well wishes and the lovely card. It really bucked me up. So thank you very much.
Fine. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Are you not carrying, are we not finishing from 19 onwards then? You decided we're closing.
I'm calling those.
Have you not got a bed to go to?
Yeah, I know.
I would like to get out of this civic role of mine. I'm now going to adjourn the meeting, having missed out those named agenda items for further discussion.
Sorry, I know you're keen, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
And the time is 22:24. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.